Okay, we're going to attempt this and make a second go round at it. We had to reset our devices over here, had a power outage. But what we were talking about is exactly what you see on the screen here. First of all, the first thing we're presenting is President Mike Pence. How does that sound? How does that ring in your ear? How does that roll off the tongue, so to speak? President Mike Pence. Now, obviously, I'm talking to my beloved Maga audience because obviously President Pence would be a Republican. And the reason I'm asking that is because Mike Pence stated that he is seriously considering a run for 2024. And based on the way he left in 2020, you have to ask, how would the Republicans welcome a 2024 Mike Pence presidential campaign? Real quick in the comments, Travis Bickle, I do have the news wires on behind me. Carrie Lake has indeed officially lost her gubernatorial run, and the liberals have taken another governor's seat out there on the West Coast. I believe that's in Arizona. Carrie Lake is now the governor there. So it's still looking good for the Democrats. It was not a bad midterm by any stretch of the imagination. I understand folks are trying to spin it and say the overwhelming majority of Trump-backed candidates did win their office, and that's true, but they're all down ballot folks. The folks that count lost. The folks that would have a lot of power lost. So the Republican Party, or better yet, the Democratic Party under President Biden, under the Biden economy, the Biden high gas prices and all of that shit, outperformed every president in their first midterm in the last 40 years. So for folks, and I get a lot of folks on my program who suggest Biden is the worst president ever. Literally the worst president in American history. I get plenty of folks who say that all the time. Obviously, I don't agree with that by any stretch of the imagination. However, he did perform better in his first midterm than Obama, Trump, Reagan, freaking George W. Bush, or not George W. Bush, but Bill Clinton. Yeah, so say what you want about Biden. Those numbers are historical. So we're going to be talking about that, but I want to play you guys a clip before we go to the box, and I see folks are in the box. And by the way, tap the screen. I lost my likes from having to reset the live. Tap the screen. MAGA, this is a MAGA preferred program, even though liberals are welcome. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 5,000 likes. I'll go straight to the box. I don't ban, block, or censor, but I want you guys to hear something that I believe is very important. And this is something that was attempted, or better yet, is being attempted by the GOP. So I want you to hear this, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Should Pennsylvania's voting age be raised from 18 to 21? It's one of 5 proposed state constitutional amendments passed by Republican lawmakers in Harrisburg. But as political editor John Delano explains, that comes as news to many young voters.
Caleb Gropes, the 19-year-old from Erie at Carnegie Mellon University, follows politics closely as president of CMU's College Democrats. But he was not aware that the Republican-approved proposed constitutional amendment to require voter identification also raises the voting age to 21.
I was unaware of the particular age restrictions on voting. We saw very vividly with the Vietnam War that there are multiple reasons why 18 is the perfect age for people to be able to vote.
If you can fight and die in battle, you should have the right to vote, was the logic behind the age change nationally 50 years ago. Will Allison of Cranberry, the political director of the Pitt College Democrats.
Okay, I don't want to play the whole thing, but here is the gist of it. The Republicans in the state of Pennsylvania were attempting to pass a voter ID law. You hear this all the time from the Republican side of the aisle, wanting to secure the integrity of the election, and they often will state, why do you have a problem with requiring an ID to vote? As a liberal, I do not believe there's any legitimate excuse why any adult cannot get an ID. However, as you see in this video, they try to sneak in as pork a age requirement change on the voter ID law. So if you had voted to allow a voter ID law, they were sneaking in a change from voting at 18 to 21. So understand that when you don't read the bills and you just sign stuff, this stuff is hidden in there. They literally were trying to sneak in a change from being able to vote at 18 to 21 and packaging it up as a voter ID law. So I just wanted you guys to hear that because I want to ask the question, do you believe they should raise the age of maturity for voting? Going straight to the box. Archer. Good evening. Welcome to the program. What do you think? You think they should raise the age of voting from 18 to 21?
No, sir. No, I'm an ex-101st Airborne Division soldier. You can go put that rucksack on your back at 18. You should be able to do anything.
I like that. Thank you for your service, by the way, and happy belated Veterans Day. So why do you think they're even trying to do this to begin with?
Silly, gonna cost them. The thing is, it's so much trickery. I don't even understand the country no more. Like when you saying people are voting, I can hear them complain about the gas and all of this. I look at the policies and I say, well, wait a minute. You know how that's why it is that we have these policies. Oh, it's a what they say, it's a global economy. I'm like, yeah, but we can do things to lower some of this stuff. And I just don't think we have.
So based on what you're saying, so you do hold Biden accountable to some degree, at least, for our current economy situation.
Of course, because I had to look at when Trump was in there. Him and Kurt Lowe got together, man. They came up with some stuff. You know, this is a system. You can move certain things and make certain things happen. Like we talked about the last time we was on, you was talking about green, you know, we was talking about healthcare, like the guy from Europe just talking about healthcare. You got to understand something. He tucked over there, you know, in Greenland. Did he say he was from Greenland? Okay.
Yes, he's in Greenland. Yes.
So when I was in the military in Germany, we were their defense. They didn't pay.
Right.
So I'm like, nah, man, y'all you pay for your own military and keep Russia off of you by yourself, and then let me see where that extra money gonna be. But we Americans.
I gotta counter to some degree. I understand what you're saying is that America can't always provide its citizens with entitlements because they have to provide a military blanket that a lot of European countries that do provide entitlements do not have. I get the argument. However, I have to submit to you what happened in the midterms. In the midterms in 2022, all of those political campaigns around the country, they spent a total of $10 billion on political ads. So newspapers, radio stations, internet ads, TV ads. 10 billion would it be? And they're going to do that obviously again in the 2024 presidential race, 2026 midterms, and it just keeps going up. So the problem I have is this: when we start talking about we cannot afford things, whether it's dealing with homelessness, veterans such as yourself, and things like that, if the politicians in this country and the aspiring politicians in this country can come up with $10 billion to spend for campaign ads every 2 years, why do we have these problems to begin with?
But see, listen to me. I believe in America because we have everybody from every walk on this planet inside of America. So I'm saying we have all the brain we need. If anybody can fix it, we can fix it. There's not a problem we have that we cannot solve. I just believe
the question. Okay, wait. I don't think you get the question I'm asking you is: you got political campaigns spending $10 billion every 2 years on ads, and you got a huge homeless problem in multiple states in this country. How do those two things exist simultaneously?
Well, they're concerned about one thing and not the other.
So they're concerned about. So in this country, you're saying they're concerned about campaign ads and not concerned about the homeless people in this country.
Exactly.
Okay.
Anything we focus on, we get rid of it, don't we? If you got a problem with somebody overseas, don't we put our military together and go do it? You know, let's put the army together and kill the homelessness. Like I'm into building and framing of houses, and I just look at all this extra space. I said, man, we could, you know, how many houses we could put right there, but who's gonna back it?
So let me
You know
ask
what
you
I'm
this:
saying?
you do favor the Trump administration over Biden, correct?
I I favor Trump for one reason. Nobody wanted him at first. Everybody said how terrible he was gonna be, and everything he went to do, I would have basically did it too. It's just
Okay.
simple like this. Would I have let the border be wide open like Joe Biden doing now? I wouldn't have done that, right? So I was like,
Okay.
but I do need a way for excuse me, legal immigration to take place because we need that. And
Well,
last time
let
me
me
and
ask you
you,
this because you seem like you're somewhat in the middle. You do point to some of the positives of the Trump administration, but if you had to give Trump a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F, what letter grade would you give the performance of Trump after 4 years in office?
oh, after 4 years in office, I would give him a B.
Okay, so
And
better than average.
yeah, oh, most definitely because he
Okay.
got a lot of stuff done. You
Okay.
know, I
So
mean,
what about so in regards to getting things done as you put in, making America great? Why is the homeless problem still there after 4 years? I mean, did he make even a dent in that?
okay, let's look at it like this. If Joe Biden came, I'm gonna go to Biden, then go back to Trump.
Okay.
If Joe Biden came in and wrecked the economy for more people, so how did that help the homeless? You understand what I'm saying? At least by
Yeah,
having a
I get your point. I totally understand that we're not favoring the Biden economy. I'm not arguing about that. But what I'm saying is that we often hear the economy under Trump was fantastic. So what I'm
right,
trying to ask is how under a fantastic economy that Trump was giving us, did we have such a huge homeless problem?
but that's for the working people that got the jobs. You know what I mean? If you homeless, I don't care how good the economy is. What they got to do with you? You homeless.
So you're saying the president cannot do anything about homelessness in America?
No, no, he can do it. If you have more money, then you can do more things.
Okay, so why under a great Trump economy did he not do more things, as you put it?
What did I just tell you? They're not focused on that.
Okay, so I get your point now. So in other words, the president who coined the phrase "Make America Great Again" was not
Right.
focused on homeless Americans.
Not what I'm saying to you, he gonna make America great for the people that's working, that got the jobs. Think about it. My salary goes up, the job, employment. But if you're on the street, I mean, not for you.
But isn't the people on the street literally the worst among us?
Right, but how what I'm saying to you, how you be homeless and the economy's booming, you like, but damn, I don't have an address. You know, these are the people that I go to every day and I see them out on the street and I'm handing them money. I'm like, you in a total different like zone. I could be going through the roof making 150,000. You don't have an address. You're not gonna get a job. It's not gonna look like a good economy to you.
Right.
Right.
But
So
they
you know,
do
so the
both.
government,
But
huh?
I get your point. They don't have an address and it's not going to look good. The economy is not going to look good to a homeless person. But at the end of the day, they are capable of voting. So why would you not help that voting base?
I mean, they should, but that brings you back to the same thing you just said. How these guys come up with all that money for the campaigns? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? They come up with all this money, but that money is in people's hands, in particular people's hand who the powerful who's putting this money into play
Yeah.
because they don't
Well,
care about you. They want the power.
I'm just going to say, based on what you're saying, and literally, you literally are admitting
Mhm.
that even the Trump administration, which you gave a B, which is better than average, you're admitting that they were not focused or concerned with homelessness.
No, well, I haven't seen no president just focused on it.
Yeah. But he was supposed to be the one to make America great again.
Well, understand this: making the economy great for the people that's in line for these jobs. You know, the salaries went up, the 401k was up there. up under Biden, I think I lost like
Right.
25,000. You know, think
Okay.
about that. So I'm thinking, well, damn, you making me poor.
But if you are homeless, and basically, if what you're saying is true to a homeless
Mhm.
person, wouldn't that make it appear as if Trump was more focused on the haves as opposed to the have-nots? You're talking about 401k. Obviously, a homeless person doesn't even know what it means to lose $15,000 in a 401k. So you're making it sound like Trump was only focused on the haves as opposed to the have-nots.
Well, I think it's the president's job if he get in there, if he can't do nothing else, is to have security and an environment for you to thrive in. So if you can't set an environment up for us to thrive in, then it's like, hell, why go to work, man? I mean, what am I doing here? You taking me backwards? You know, it's
Well,
just like,
okay, I do have to move it on shortly, but in regards to setting up an environment to thrive in, I, I
mhm.
have to I have to end by asking you this. If you want a leader to set up an environment to thrive in, why would the Republicans fight against the minimum wage so hard? Isn't that counterproductive to thriving?
But the thing is, but see, the thing is, I always say this: the future has a way of thrusting the truth upon your ass. When they was talking about that, I said, wait a minute, you can afford $15 an hour, because that's still gonna be the new bottom, right?
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
you can't get nobody under $15.
yeah. But how do you feel about Republicans continuing to fight against having a minimum wage at $15 to begin with? They've been fighting against a minimum wage increase for most of our lives, most of our adult lives, because the minimum wage, even though, like you said, you can't find a job for 15 bucks an hour, officially though, the minimum wage is still $7.50, $8 an
Right,
hour in a large portion of America, particularly in the
right.
southern states. It's $7 and $8 an hour. Why are the Republicans so staunch against raising the minimum wage?
Because they're stupid. They stuck on stupid. I mean, you think about it. Listen. See, I'm not one of these party guys. I would tell you, just like right now, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. Nobody is going. They didn't figure out one thing. A lot of these companies think they're in charge. No, the people are in charge, and you find that out when they don't show up at your job. We got people coming to work at 12 o'clock and don't come back. You
Mm,
see, so I
yeah.
mean, people are, because think about this. If I go to work and can't pay my rent, what am I doing?
You barely surviving.
Right. So they figure out, if people figure out other ways. I believe we are Americans. I feel we the smartest people on this planet. We are entrepreneurial minded. If you get out there, you can do it. And one more thing before I go, I want to run this by you. The last
Sure.
time one of these guys was talking, what the guy was name? I think I wrote it down. What is his name? Facts Matters. We was talking about not wanting to pay for medical, for
Yeah,
for the medical. You said people at the top and the people in the middle don't want to pay for the bottom. I
that is
got a
true.
perfect answer for you. Why would I pay for the bottom when they keep expanding the bottom? Hadn't Joe Biden just let in 4 more million people?
Because you're going to pay for them anyway. You can either pay for proactive medical care or you can pay for reactive medical care. Meaning, if you do not give folks at the bottom health care so that they can go to the doctor for checkups, screenings, and proactive medical care, they're going to ultimately show up to the emergency room and
Right.
you're going to have to pay the higher cost, which is reactive medical care.
But
One
I
way
think,
or another, you're going to pay. You're
but
going to pay one way or another.
you missing my point though. If I sign a deal with you right now, say, yeah, you could take this much of my check, I'm gonna help you pay for the people at the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't open the border and bring in 5 more millions or six more
Yeah, I
million.
get that. I
I
get
mean,
that.
what point do my checks start like affecting me? Because there's so many people. I've never.
Maybe if something, let me say this. Maybe if you made that argument and folks believed it, you might get more protection at the border. But make no mistake about it, Barack Obama there was not open borders under Barack Obama. He
No,
was known as
yeah,
he was known
he
as the
said no.
porter in chief. He was
That-
known as the porter in chief, and yet they were still fighting vehemently against universal health care. So the problem you're saying, I'm willing to pay if you don't bring in new people. Barack Obama was not bringing in new people, and people still didn't want to pay. So you got to say what you're saying, but it's got to be believable. I got to move it on, Leon.
All right.
Good talk. All right, looking in the comment section, somebody said something. Damn it, I just scrolled. I wanted to respond to it. Unfortunately, somebody said, oh, I know what it was. Minimum wage is not a livable wage. I have this on every discussion in regards to the minimum wage. And I'll go back to the box shortly. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 10,000 likes. Bring me some Maga. You know what we love to talk to here. It's a Maga-friendly program. I do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their comments. That is my solemn promise. I'll give you plenty of time in the box to state your point. Doesn't have to agree with me or not. That makes no difference at all in this program. In regards to the minimum wage not being a livable wage, I'm fine with that, and a lot of other folks will be fine with that if minimum wage applied to burger flippers only. But when you look at the types of jobs in this country that pay less than minimum wage, we're not talking about jobs that should apply to folks who are not yet ready to earn a livable wage. We're talking about careers, school bus drivers, security guards, CNAs, some LPNs, assistant teachers. These are not temporary jobs. These are jobs that require adults, oftentimes even a college education, that pay less than $15 an hour, which is why I also tend to be a bit taken back anytime somebody talk about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and people automatically start talking about burger flippers do not need $15 an hour. Burger flippers are not the only ones getting paid under $15 an hour. There are, as I just stated, there are a lot of jobs that pay less than $15 an hour that are considered career jobs that require adults, require some education. A CNA, that's not a burger flipper. You gotta be educated. You gotta have a certificate to get that job. That job should pay more than $15 an hour. You got paramedics, or what do they call them? Whatever the hell you ride in the back of the ambulance. There's paramedics, and I forgot what the other position is. But there are people who, if you call 911 and show up in an ambulance, there are people who will wheel you out and put you in the back of the ambulance, check your vitals, and they're making less than $15 an hour. That job is not a burger flipper. Those jobs should pay EMT. Yeah, that's emergency medical technician. That's what it is. They make less than $15 an hour in a lot of places. Now, COVID, the pandemic, has changed some of the salaries because of the entitlements, the PPP loans that people were scamming off of, and the whatever the other stimulus money they were giving out. People haven't really wanted to go back to work yet because they found a way to make income on the side. But in regards to $15 an hour and burger flippers coming up, there's a whole lot of other jobs down there. Half of Walmart. What Walmart starts you out with more than $15 an hour? Walmart's a 24-hour facility. You're going to tell me those are high school kids working in there at 3 a.m. on a school night? There are plenty of jobs that should pay you a livable wage because that is a career at that point. That's an adult. Oftentimes with families that are working at a Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not a 15, 16-year-old. All right, going back to the box. Now, I asked about the Walmart thing. I'm just going to simply say there's a hell of a lot of Walmarts all around America that do not start you off with more than $15 an hour. I think we all know that. You may be to point to one of them that's in Honolulu somewhere, or Maui, or in the middle of Los Angeles. Yeah, maybe. But throughout the South, throughout the Midwest, they're not starting you out like that. Whoa. Georgia minimum wage is $5.15 an hour. Petty Pendergrass. Are you for real? $5.15 an hour. That can't be true. Is that actually true? The minimum wage in the state of Georgia, Brian Kemp is the governor, is $5.15. Somebody tell me that's not true. Looking in the box, Jay Schmo, Guitar Show. Good evening. I'm back. Jay Schmo, good evening.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
What?
Mike Pence, President Pence, how does that sound to you?
I think he's a decent person. I'm coming from the right, but he's no president. He doesn't have
Why not?
He doesn't have. He's too nice a guy. Put it that way. He don't have what it takes to take the punishment of being president.
Well, you didn't see, was Barack Obama a mean guy? He was pretty nice, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he's got a lot more fight to him.
Well,
Obama,
we haven't seen. I mean, Mike Pence might get mad and throw a Bible at you. You never know. Give the man a chance.
No, I wouldn't think he'd do that. He won't even be in a room with a woman. And I mean, and I understand that. I understand where he comes from with that. But he is. I mean, he does not have. You got to be kind of tough to be a president.
Yeah.
I don't care which side you're on. You got to have thick skin.
But I do agree with you. But how did he survive as the governor of a state like Indiana if he didn't have any toughness in him?
You ever been to Indiana? You have. You were from Chicago, right?
I'm a Chicago native. Indiana's 5-10 minutes from where I live.
Most of that state's pretty mellow. I don't find it to be, it's not a controversial state most of the time. So he's not had a lot of backlash. He's viewed as a super nice guy. He's a decent human being, but is he president material? You got to have some fortitude to be a president.
What about actually, now this is something President Trump promised, but in regards to actually doing it, what about a nice guy genuinely surrounding himself with the best and brightest? Trump promised to do that. He did not do it. But what if Mike Pence, a genuine nice guy, surrounded himself with the best and brightest and took their advice? So if he had, like George W. Bush, Dick Cheney was the one that was the more hawkish one. George W. Bush wasn't really all that, hardcore. It was Dick Cheney. So what if he surrounded himself with somebody like that?
I don't see it happening. And even with Trump, I mean, Trump, I think, and, that's where people miss it. Trump says he's going to surround himself, and he does in business because it makes him money. He takes other people's ideas and run off. It's totally different when you run a country. Yeah. There's parts of being a businessman that's good.
What if you had Pence at the top of the ticket with DeSantis running as VP? Would that open up some eyes?
Yeah, but I don't think DeSantis would be VP. Yeah, DeSantis is top of the ticket material.
Yeah, I agree with that. But sometimes when they run against each other, whoever wins, like let's say, for instance, the liberals got involved like they did in the midterms and picked Republican candidates. And the liberals were very successful in getting involved in the midterms and picking these Republican candidates that were election deniers because they ended up beating them. But what if they got involved in a presidential race and they voted for Mike Pence to the point where he ended up getting the nomination after running against someone like DeSantis and then put him on the ticket? Because that's usually what happens is they all run against each other, but the winner will sometimes put the other folks on his administration. And I mean, because Kamala Harris ran against Biden. And now she's on the ticket as the VP. So it could happen in that way, would you see?
Yeah. And Pence was put on, Trump's ticket because he was kind of neutral. He wasn't a controversial person. And that's why he was put there. He's a nice guy. Even the other side, they don't look at him as controversial. So he didn't hurt the ticket. He didn't necessarily help it. He helped it because he was red, but that's it. Fair enough. But my thing is too, let's go on with the other thing, raising the voting age in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Them guys, every one of them Republicans, and I'm a Republican, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. And they're jumping at straws. Hey, you know what it is? What happened in this red wave that didn't happen? There's certain places, I think maybe some funny stuff, but I haven't seen the true or false of it. But the most part, I live in Illinois. It's Democrat every time. We ran hard as Republicans.
Lewis can be.
But I'll tell you why. The Democrats have a better system. They get people out and vote. We complain about it, but if it's legal to harvest votes, why aren't we doing it too?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I played a clip earlier. Speaking of what you're talking about, the Democrats having a better system, I played a clip earlier, Jesse Waters on Fox News. I want you to hear this. It's only a few seconds long, but he mentioned something similar to what you stated. I want you to hear this and get your take on it.
Democrats are dominating the cities. I mean, absolute dominations, 85-15 types of spreads. Also, single women are breaking for Democrats by 30 points. And this makes sense when you think about how Democrat policies are designed to keep women single. But once women get married, they vote Republican. Married women, married men go for Republicans by double digits. But single women and voters under 40 have been captured by Democrats.
Why do you believe Democrats dominate bigger cities? Because you mentioned that Democrats have a better system. What is it about Democrats and voters in urban areas that seem to link up? I don't know hardly any major cities that tend to vote Republican. Even in Republican states like Houston is in Texas, Dallas is in Texas, but they tend to elect Democrat. They tend to vote Democrat. So what is it about the Republican Party that doesn't do well with big cities?
Well, number one, they don't get out to vote, but there's also the fact that if you live in urban areas, which party is likely to at least make you survive with a let's call it the welfare system, whatever you want to call it, subsidy, some type of subsidy to a person that is not making it. So which party, if you just, let's say, because, being a impoverished person, you don't see any other way. We know that. Anybody that
So
they
what
don't
you're
see
saying is
another way.
you're saying if you are in an urban area and you are down on your luck, impoverished, the Democratic Party is more likely to help you?
Even if you're not impoverished all the way to the middle class, there is some, if you look at the statistics, I don't know exactly what it is, but if you look, the government is subsidizing a lot of people's stuff, whether it be Medicare, Medicaid.
So if what you're saying is true, why is it that the Republican Party is sitting back and allowing itself to be branded as the party that does not help the downtrodden?
Because it's pretty hard to get through, because as a Republican, it's pull up the bootstraps and go to work. That's our answer to everything, because that's how we truly believe, because most people that's got, and it's just like this, when they said, it makes it easier for what he said, Democratic Party makes it easier for a woman to be single, or he put it a different way, but he put it as whatever he said.
He said a Democratic Party promotes. He's basically saying if you follow Democratic policies, you will stay single. Like it makes you undesirable or something like that. That's the way he kind of worded it.
Yeah, and basically, because we all know this is economics 101. If you're a single mom, you have a harder time. Is that correct?
True.
It's tough. I don't care who he is.
The bootstraps are a little bit harder to grab if you're a single mother.
Well, yes, and you got a child. So what do you need? To survive? If you believe somebody's going to come in, let's say it's the WIC program or Medicaid, that stuff. If you believe that's going to go away and you have no other alternative, you better vote for that.
Yeah. Now, what you're saying, and I, as a liberal, I agree 100%. But I'm going to present a question to you based on what you said, because it's really concerning. If what you're saying is true, where things are harder for single moms, and they tend to vote Democrat because the Democratic Party will give them more entitlements, the Republican Party is the party that is currently fighting to ban abortion, which would create more single moms that you are admitting will get less help from Republicans. Why would they literally ban abortion so that there's going to be more of these women that need help, and become the party that doesn't help those women? Can you not see how that would really be a clash for the Republican Party? Is that you had a woman that got pregnant. She decided she did not want to have the baby. You forced her to have the baby through abortion ban, states' rights, or whatever you want to call it. And now she's had the child, but you don't want to help her out, and now she's voting Democrat because of this situation. Do you not see how that could be a problem for the Republican Party?
Oh, I definitely see it. I've been saying it for a long time. And it's not even about, because I look at it and I have to understand, but I have to read into it myself just because I lived it. I came from poor to, let's say, middle class. I'm truly middle class.
Okay.
So, and me and my wife both came from absolutely poor to, I mean, I can't tell you how poor, but I've lived through it, but not, so I can see both sides, but I see the messaging. And, let's say Democrat policies didn't necessarily help me, but it's because I didn't take advantage of a lot of things I could, because I have a pride thing that maybe it comes from my family, whatever, that I don't take handouts. So, and it's always if somebody tells me I can't do something, I do it. But that's just me personally. But I made it through.
What about it from this angle then? Because you're talking about being independent, being self-reliant. Okay, so you get someone, and listen, I got pregnant at a young age, but I, just like yourself, I'm proud. I didn't ask for any assistance. I went out and got a job. I'm willing to work 40 hours a week to make sure I take care of myself and my responsibilities. But when it comes to me trying to make a decent income, the Republican Party is fighting against raising the minimum wage. I'm willing to work and actually take care of myself and pull myself up by my bootstraps, but they're even fighting against me getting a raise. How do you respond to that?
Well, there's a lot of misconception there.
Okay.
The Republicans, and I'll tell you that when you fight against the minimum wage, neither party gives a crap about you when it comes to minimum wage. The Democrats want it to raise it because it gives you more tax dollars coming into them. If you raise the pay, you pay more income tax, more money. Even if they have to pay it back, that's more money in their hands that they can use during the year.
So why are the Republicans
to do the policies?
Okay, fair enough for the Democrats.
Yeah, but that's for the Democrats. It brings more tax money in. They don't care, but because when you do that, and this is shown, the prices of things go up. When the prices of things go up, just like right now, we went to a $15 minimum wage in Illinois, and it's progressed over years. We're not quite to 15 yet, but it will be in the next 2 years. Okay. I employ people. I employ 31 people.
The first problem I have with the notion that if you raise minimum wage, the price of goods and services will go up as a result is the fact that over the last 20 to 30 years, minimum wage in this country has barely moved, and the price of goods and services has been going up anyway. So yes. I do agree with you that if you increase salaries, that the businesses will ultimately pass that down to the consumer. But if you do not increase salaries, the businesses are still going to want to raise, and they're going to raise the price of goods and services up anyway, because even though the minimum wage has not been increasing, people at the top have still been getting raises, and those raises are coming from increasing the price of the goods and services.
Yes, but you got to remember, this is not a left or right thing. The left,
it's a poor versus wealthy. It's a have versus have not thing.
It is, but you're looking at it differently than I do. I'm looking at it as policy wise, looking at the policies that are made by both sides. And this is where the Democrats went out, because you're going to get a raise. But if you look at Illinois, that went to the $15 policy, where are the people that are making $15 an hour, even $18, $19, $20 an hour now than they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago? They're in worse shape now.
It's hard I got to move it on, but I will give you the last word. But for me, it's hard on that one, because we point to states like Seattle that raised their minimum wage. You're pointing to liberal states like Illinois. But when you really look at the numbers, the poorest Americans live in the red states. They don't live in New England or Illinois or California. They live in, West Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi. That's where the wages have been kept low for a long, long time. Why is that?
Well, and that's the thing I'm saying, is the right fights against it because they want a free market, and it would go up, but the government artificially, and it's on both sides. The businesses, we know, where does the money come from? Even if you look at the Democrats right now, what major corporation backs Republicans?
All of them.
Just think.
Most of them back Republicans, except for media.
No. Look at Coca-Cola. Look at Walmart. All them companies are doing the same thing. They're putting money into the Democrats thing. The Democrats come out and say, we're going to raise your minimum wage. and they go along with. But the people that are financing them at the same time are doing what? They raise the prices. There is nothing here. It's a scam.
Yeah, but
on both sides.
I guess the problem, Mike, you're giving me what could happen if the minimum wage is increased, where goods and services going to go up. But you're not really making it sound any better by admitting that goods and services are going to go up even if they don't increase the minimum wage.
Yes, they do.
Still going to be that way.
That is very true. That is very true. Goods and prices go up no matter what. I employ.
So show me the
31
money.
people.
Show me the money then.
I employ 31 people, but when you artificially raise my labor cost, and that's what they're doing, and it's so that the state of Illinois can get more tax money, but you're not benefiting the people, because at the end, it doesn't matter if the CEOs are raising the price to cover it. I'm a small business owner. I have to cover them prices and compete with it. So when I do raise my prices, I do less business, because when you don't understand, as I'm like I said, I own a restaurant. I employ 31 people.
Okay.
When you raise that minimum price, that labor cost is 45% of my whole revenue. That's what goes back out. 45% of that goes back to the thing. When I get done,
you're talking about things from your standpoint as a business owner. How do your employees do if you don't raise the minimum wage for 20 straight years? How well do they do?
Not very good. But
okay.
The thing is, me as a business owner, I put money in, and this is a different philosophy between these large corporations and the small businesses. Small businesses employ more people in this United States than any place.
Okay.
I own a restaurant. I employ people that's been there 18 years. I don't pay them minimum wage. If I did, I would be like McDonald's.
Yeah, I get it. I got to move it on, but I will just say this. If every small business acted like you, we wouldn't be having this argument. The whole reason we're having this is because most businesses do not do what you're doing. And that's why this is happening. But I got to move it on, Jay Shmo.
Okay, but one thing, just before I leave, you got to remember, the Democrats, it's a false argument when they raise minimum wage. It is a very false argument.
All right. Come on back through anytime.
Okay.
Okay. Looking in the comments here. Now,
he said, is it a false argument? Some would say yes, some would say no. But he did admit the price of goods and services are going to go up no matter if they raise the minimum wage or not. So I would rather you just show me the money, because if you give me a higher wage and you raise the price of goods and services to match the wage you're giving me, I have more money in my pocket to make the decision if I want to buy the goods and services you have raised the price on. Maybe I don't need all of that stuff. Maybe the price of purchasing furniture has went up, but I'm going to be happy with a hair mattress and a chair in my house. So I'd rather have more money so that I can make more decisions. And by the way, everything doesn't go up. I mean, sell for mattress and a chair in my house. So I'd rather have more money so that I can make more decisions. And by the way, everything doesn't go up. I mean, cell phone prices have really went down over the last 20 years. If you had a cell phone in the year 2000, when you were paying for every damn text, cell phone prices have really went down over the last 20 years. If you had a cell phone in the year 2000, when you were paying for every damn text message and things like that, it's went down. So I would really had a cell phone in the year 2000, when you were paying for every damn text message and things like that, it's went down. So I would rather you give me the money and let me decide which ones of those increased price goods and services that I want to buy, as opposed to keeping me at $7-8 an hour for 20 straight years and increased price goods and services that I want to buy, as opposed to keeping me at $7-8 an hour for 20 straight years and have me hope for the best. All right, looking in the comments, I would like to talk to Maga. I don't know if I have Maga in here, but we're going to go to Unapologetic Black Man. I would like to talk to Maga. I don't know if I have Maga in here, but we're going to go to Unapologetic Black Man.
I appreciate you guys holding on. Unapologetic. Good afternoon. Good evening.
But we're going to go to Unapologetic Black Man.
I appreciate you guys holding on. Unapologetic. Good afternoon. Good evening. Jerry. Well, good evening. Jerry. Well,
Tonight's show has been amazing.
thank you. Appreciate that. What do you think about Republicans over in the state of Pennsylvania sneaking in under a voter ID bill as pork, sneaking in legislation to up the age of voting from 18 to a voter ID bill as pork, sneaking in legislation to up the age of voting from 18 to 21. They wanted to up the age from 18 to 21, but didn't tell anybody they were doing it. They upped the age of voting from 18 to 21. They wanted to up the age from 18 to 21, but didn't tell anybody they were doing it. They were trying to up the age from 18 to 21, but didn't tell anybody they were doing it. They were trying to pass a voter ID bill, which everybody agrees you should have to have an ID to vote. But in that bill, the fine print had them raising the age to vote from 18 to 21. What do you think about that?
That makes sense.
You think the age of vote had them raising the age to vote from 18 to 21? What do you think about that?
That makes sense.
You think the age of voting should be raised?
Oh, no. That makes sense for the Republican Party to do that.
Oh, okay. All right. You got me there for a minute. I'm like,
Oh, no. That makes sense for the Republican Party to do that.
oh, okay. All right. You got me there for a minute. I'm like, what?
Oh, no. That it's just more proof that they have to suppress educated people to get elected into office. To me,
Okay.
that they have to suppress educated people to get elected into office. To me,
Okay.
I'm more behind people like Bernie, AOC, and Lamar when they say that. To me,
Okay.
I'm more behind people like Bernie, AOC, and Lamar when they say that if a child, a company, and a parent thinks. I'm more behind people like Bernie, AOC, and Lamar when they say that if a child, a company, and a parent thinks that they are responsible enough to get a permit to work, then we're going to go back to taxation without representation. So I think if a kid is old enough and responsible enough to get a permit to work, we're going to go back to taxation without representation. So I think if a kid is old enough and responsible enough to get a permit to work and the federal government takes taxes out of their checks, then those kids should be able to go into the ballot booth too as their parents. Takes taxes out of their checks, then those kids should be able to go into the ballot booth too as their parents.
So you're keeping the voting age at what age do you think the voting age should be?
If a kid can get a permit to work and get taxes taken out.
Voting age at what age do you think the voting age should be?
If a kid can get a permit to work and get taxes taken out of their check, they should be old enough to vote also.
So you said about 14 or 15.
If a state lets a kid, if a state is fine with taking taxes out of a kid check, they should be fine with representing those kids. Lets a kid, if a state is fine with taking taxes out of a kid check, they should be fine with representing those kids.
I have never heard that point. Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I want to see in the comments. I got to figure out how to do polls on this damn thing because I want to know how many of you folks watching this believe what, or agree with, rather, not believe, but agree with what my caller is saying, that if you are old enough to pay taxes. Now, myself, I started out, my first job was a paper route. I think I was about 14. Then I started working for Burger King at 16. So you're saying the minute they take taxes out of your check, you should be able to vote. Yes or no in the comments. How many of you guys agree with that? The minute they can take taxes.
According to the government, that's checks and balances, taxation without representation. So if you're going to take taxes from the youth, then like I said, now don't get me wrong, I don't think that a kid can just walk up to a booth. I think they should be accompanied with their parent, just like they had to be accompanied with their parent to get that permit to work. So again, like I said, if a kid has a permit to work, you bring your permit to the voting booth and you bring your last check stub, which shows that you paid taxes, then you should have a fair ballot in your name also.
Yeah, but how many 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds even pay attention to politics to begin with?
That's not up to us.
Yeah,
they deserve representation. They deserve representation too. We have a lot of people on the liberal side and the Republican side that we think they grown ass shouldn't be able to vote. So you know what I mean? Some of our
Yeah, yeah,
telling our future that they don't know what they want in the future is kind of like, like boomers right now, they can't retire and they're telling people in their 40s and 50s what to do. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
you had your time, you had your generation, you had your 30, 40 years. So now 14, 50-year-olds, regardless of if they're working, give them their 30, 40 years, you know?
Interesting. Now, folks in the audience, real quick, I see folks are saying I'm lagging. I don't, because I'm getting 5G over here. I don't know what the hell.
Matt
Obviously,
says
you and I are talking, yeah, unapologetic. You and I are talking without a problem. So I don't know. Folks are saying it's
yeah.
lagging badly. Is it lagging for you guys real bad? Like, because me and you were talking and we're having no problem
Yeah,
at
it's not
all.
lagging on my end.
It's not lagging on your end?
No, sir.
Yeah, it's not lagging on my end either. I'm hearing you loud and clear because I wanted to play this again. Some of the folks watching have heard it, but I want, because you talk about uh, folks voting, but you're talking about at a young age. But for folks who are tuning in, I wanted to play this clip of Jesse Waters on Fox News because he's talking about how voting changes as people go from being single to married. Listen to this.
Democrats are dominating the cities. I mean, absolute dominations, 85 to 15 types of spreads. Also, single women are breaking for Democrats by 30 points. And this makes sense when you think about how Democrat policies are designed to keep women single. But once women get married, they vote Republican. Married women, married men go for Republicans by double digits. But single women and voters under 40 have been captured by Democrats. So we need these ladies to get married. And abortion is really driving change.
Now, real quick, listen to this. These are the numbers he presented. And I understand, Jesse Waters, Fox News, folks may want to suggest that these numbers are not reliable, but I think there's something to it. He's saying that single women tend to vote Republican by 31%. 31% of single women vote Republican. 68% of single women vote Democrat. However, when a woman gets married, the 31% number jumps up to 56%. So that's a 25 percentage point increase from women that are single to married. So in other words, majority of single women vote Democrat, majority of married women vote Republican. And of course, he says also 59% of married men vote Republican. So what is it about being single versus married that makes the Republican Party now look more desirable? Once you're married, you want to vote right. Does that make any sense to you?
It makes perfect sense. I saw that video you showed, and I did my own research and I looked on a bunch of spectrums, and everything he said was correct, but he left out the biggest factor of that demographic, which is race.
Yeah, that's a good point because when I look at these numbers, that's the first thing I think as well. This is clearly a list of Caucasians because 59% of married men vote GOP.
Yeah.
59% of married LGBT men are not voting GOP. So
No,
yeah,
no,
this
no. I
list
mean,
probably consists mostly of white voters.
yeah, I mean, everything he said was for a certain group of people, but he tried to generalize it like he was talking about America. And
Yeah.
when you look at the real numbers and you look across the spectrum, he left out uh, people of color and black people in that statistic. That was only for white America, which I understand. But he should have been more specific with that spectrum that he
Well,
gave
wait a minute
in
though.
those
What if
numbers.
what if this what if this number does include minorities? Because think about it. He's saying 59% of married men vote the GOP. If you took white people only, chances are when it comes to white men, that number will be higher than 59%. If you took all of the married white guys in this country, my guess is the number of them voting GOP is actually probably higher than 59%.
And again, I looked at all the spectrums, and no, he was right on because we have to remember that most, I think, when I looked it up, I think it was like 47% of married men are actually closer to the city and not in rural areas. Then we have to think about the demographics per capita. When we look at little rural areas, yes, there's 1,000 married white men. Now you go to the city and that multiplies by, I think it was like 37. So again, just because you're a white married doesn't mean that you're going to vote Republican, especially if you're in the city, especially if your wife, which most married couple, I think that's the highest percentage of people that actually have the abortions are married couples. So once again, like you said, that hurts their party. Like I told you, when they first start presenting all these regression laws, they basically are telling a lot of marginalized groups that we don't like your lifestyle. And we're gonna accept any group, like a Christian group. You hear Christians now saying that, like, you can't be a Democrat and a Christian. So you're
Yeah, I
pushing
saw that.
away a
Yeah,
large, yeah.
there's videos
It's,
on
it's getting
TikTok
ridiculous
saying that.
now. It's getting ridiculous that they're telling a bunch of groups "We don't like your lifestyle, but you're dumb if you don't vote for us." Like that's bad messaging from their party.
Yeah, I've seen many a tick. In fact, I had one of my videos flagged by TikTok. I posted that a pastor was walking on stage and saying, "If you're a Democrat, get the hell out of my church. You can't be you can't be Christian."
Yeah,
Yeah, that is bad
yeah.
messaging. That is, and that's also bad
And
messaging for Christians as well.
it's worse that their party always says, like, the way it doesn't bother me. Well, your vote are against that entire 14 dozen groups that you guys hate so much, and you guys,
Yeah.
you frown upon their lifestyles, and then you're telling them that at the same time you're telling them, like, you guys are dumb and on a plantation because you're not voting for me. Like, that's just, it's
But
like, which way do I win with the Republican Party? Geez.
yeah, but all right. I have to move it on. But before I let you go, in regards to being Democrat and Christian, what about abortion? Though, isn't that a true sin? It doesn't that go against everything Christianity represents? If you are a Democrat and you are pro-choice, wouldn't that actually mean that you would have a difficult time being a Christian?
Well, if you're going to religious and try to interpret, because no religious book says anything about abortion. So again, if you want to go in there and interpret any holy book, not just the Bible, and for Christians, any holy book says nothing about abortion. So if you want to use your morals over women's health, then don't expect for those type of women to vote for you. It's as simple as that.
All right, fair enough.
If you don't
All
like
right, I
people's
got to move it
lifestyles,
on.
don't expect for people. That's why I say we need, literacy in politics, because we're going to have one party says you guys are dumb because I don't like your lifestyle. And again, if you want to use that messaging, then we're going to watch the Republican Party dwindle to
Mm.
basically the rhinos that they don't like.
All
It's gonna. I
right,
mean, because
black man.
me and you, we know that they're not rhinos, but that's the
Yeah,
only people they're gonna have left in their party, because they're the people that they not considering radicals and election party. These people are not gonna last long, so they're gonna have to fall back on people like on your screen, Pence and the old school Republicans. That's what's gonna happen.
perhaps. Good talk, man. Come on back through.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Looking in the comments to a home phone who has those. Yeah, I haven't had a home phone. I don't know why that came up, but I haven't had a home phone in years. And in 2 years, there's a lot more Gen Zs turning 18. Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why the state of Pennsylvania, the legislators there were trying to raise the age of voting from 18 to 21. I mean, say what you want about the Republican Party, they do not do well with young voters. They just simply don't. This is why you often hear Republican pundits, and I'll go right back to the box. I won't talk long, but this is why you hear Republican pundits talking about liberal universities and things like that all the time. Why do young people tend to vote Democrat? Well, you have to look at what the Republican Party stands for. Like we were just talking about Christianity. Christianity is not very popular among the young crowd. Being anti-marijuana. I mean, the liberals are far more pro marijuana and pro, recreational, drugs and shit. That's what the left wing is. I mean, that's what the young folks are doing. Even when it comes to the police, I back the blue. I stand by the police under any circumstance, which is what you hear from the right. The left, or better yet, the youth, they're not very hardcore backing the blue like that. So I will tell you, one of the reasons that the younger crowd tends to vote left is because the Republican ideology does not resonate with them. The LGBT crowd is pretty rampant among the younger generation. And obviously, the right is not as big fans of the LGBT community as the left is. So it's not necessarily liberal universities that's causing the problem. It's what the Republican Party stands for that does not resonate with young people. And when you look at Republican gatherings, look at the average age of the people that are there. That should tell you there's not a lot of 19, 20-year-olds showing up to Trump rallies. It's older people, unless they're showing up with their dad. But on their own, they're hanging out with the Bernie Sanders crowd and hanging out on the other side over there. So, yeah, they might have a young people problem, but, maybe I'm wrong. Let me look in the comments. Coach Vernon, appreciate you guys that are holding. Coach,
Good evening.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
How you
President
doing?
Mike Pence, what do you think about that? President Mike Pence, how would you feel about that?
I mean, for the Republicans, it's a good idea. It's something worth running, I think.
You think Mike Pence would be a good you think Mike Pence would be a good candidate to put forward for Republicans?
I mean, the thing about it is he carried the Trump policies. He's calm under pressure. He showed that during that little upheaval that Trump had. He was always, he was always quick to listen, hard to talk about stuff. He really wouldn't run his mouth about stuff. I mean, he's got values. He's a Christian dude, and he's inclusive because I think he's got like a gay daughter or something like that. I think his daughter or someone's gay or something like that. So
making some points. You're making some points that I didn't even think about. That, I mean, to some degree, I think to some degree, if Mike Pence tried to run in regards to this country as for president, his biggest enemies would probably be MAGA. I think the stuff you're presenting shows that. Yeah, I think MAGA would be Pence's biggest enemies.
Yeah, they're gonna eat him alive, but at the same time, he's not bad. He's not an election denier. He's not something crazy and off the wheels like Trump was. And the thing was, I think he was more the brains behind Trump. He was the guy to go to the Senate and do things. He was the guy to get things done.
So when
Trump talked about it, but
so when Trump said he was going to surround himself with the best and brightest, you're indicating that Mike Pence would have qualified for that?
I think so.
So why they hate him so much?
He was probably the only one. Because he didn't do what he said.
What did he say he was going to do that he didn't do?
Deny the election.
He never said
he didn't hate him until the
Trump
end.
Demanded that.
Yeah. He never said that he was going to do it, but that's why Trump hates him, because he wouldn't follow through with that. But he loved him up until then.
Yeah,
Mike was his guy.
He loved them all up until
he never wavered on Mike.
Same thing with General Mattis. He loves him up until he loves you until he doesn't love you. Real quick in the comments, Ghoul Bister gave me a hell of a compliment I wanted to acknowledge. He said, "You're seriously just as good as the talking heads on TV, maybe better." Damn, that's an honor. I appreciate that. Ghoul Bister in the comments. Appreciate that. So in regards to raising the age of maturity for voters from 18 to 21, how do you feel about that?
Now, if they don't have to pay taxes until they're 21, if they can't get charged as an adult until they're 21, if their parents could still claim them on taxes until they're 21, if they don't have to do anything that an adult has to do, can't get drafted until they're 21, that's cool. But if you're going to make them do all the adult stuff but not going to give them a voice, that's anti-American. That's representation.
Well, shit, if you want to talk about treating them like an adult, how many criminals have been charged as an adult from as young as 10, 11 years old? They charge people as adults pretty freaking young.
Yeah, if you're going to take their voting rights away, then okay, take all adult responsibilities away. But then that's taking money out of their pockets. Then they're not going to do it.
Yeah. So in other words, you're like my previous caller. If they're taking taxes from a juvenile, you believe that juvenile should be able to vote?
No. No, I think I don't think he should be able to vote, but I think 18. That's been the age of maturity in this country forever. I had an uncle that died in Nam at 18 that was drafted.
Right.
So you made the
Well,
ultimate
wait, you
sacrifice. So
can't
that's the
drink.
age of
Wait,
maturity.
you can't have an alcoholic beverage at 18.
True.
Okay. You want to lower that?
True. You know what I mean? So I think so. I think you should, if 18 is going to be the consensual age for adult. Yeah, you should. You should lower it to 18. Now, will it be more fatalities because of that? Yeah. But at the
Yeah.
same time, they're allowed to do everything else.
Yeah.
It's the fair
Yeah.
thing.
So just one solid age across the board.
One solid age across the board would be the fair thing.
All right. Now, I'm
but I
going to
don't.
say the liberal in me, I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Certainly,
Okay.
when it comes to killings in America, whether we're talking about the inner city violence in places like Chicago and Memphis, or we're talking about mass shootings, and things like that, most of this stuff is perpetrated by people that are under the age of 25. I believe we just had something happen today in Charlottesville, Virginia. Most of these killings are happening by people under the age of 25. The liberal in me, unless you are hunting or something of that nature, I believe they should raise the age of maturity for firearms, particularly long rifles and military stuff, to 25. I believe that. Now, I understand my MAGA audience is going to think I'm full of shit, but I believe when you look at who's killing people in this country, it's the young folks. Overwhelmingly, it's the young folks doing drive-bys, doing school shootings, doing murder. It's all young people. So I believe they should raise the age of maturity for weapons.
But for the most part, those killings aren't registered weapons. Those are hot weapons off the street. So I mean,
Them school
but
shootings, them school shootings are legally purchased weapons. Sandy Hook, El Paso, Buffalo, Ubalde, all of them things are legal. None of those guns illegal.
I think it definitely should be. If it's not a raise in the minimum age, it should be more psychiatric evaluations that go into getting those things. Someone should sign off and say, okay, this person is good enough to operate that weapon.
Yeah, but most of these people would pass that. I mean, not to mention that would also counter the phrase "my gun rights shall not be infringed upon," because you're turning gun sellers into psychiatrists. They would push back against that. But at the end of the day, I believe most of the mass shooters that we're looking at would probably pass those psyche valves. I don't think hardly any of them had some serious crap in their past.
Your solution would probably be the most common sense solution, raising the age.
Yeah.
Raising the age would be the most common sense thing,
Yeah. But I know I would get hellified pushback, particularly from the right, because Mandy is saying, yes, you can if you are stationed in, let's say, Germany. Because I hear folks oftentimes say, well, in the military, you can get a gun at 18. But my typical pushback is the military does not just hand out rifles. Like the guy in Ubalde had just turned 18, purchased an AR with a bunch of rounds. The military won't just hand you a gun like that. You got to be trained and show proficiency on that. They don't just let you get a gun and just roam around with it. So it is somewhat of a difference.
Yeah, safety is a big part of that.
Yeah. So last but not least, in regards to our topics here, what do you think is making married women prefer the GOP more than, say, single women? What is it about the GOP that starts to resonate once you get married as opposed to while you're single?
Well, you have to think about, as a single woman, you got the Lilly Ledbetter Act, that's equal pay for women. You got Roe versus Wade that introduced contraceptives and stuff like that for single women. Financial aid. Most women are going to college, so they need that financial aid and stuff. And then whenever you're married, you enter in a position, I mean, that's a godly position of being provided for. So you don't worry about those type of things. You don't worry about, not saying that women aren't the breadwinners, but traditionally, if you're not the breadwinner, you're not worried about that. You're worried about lower taxes. You're worried about things of that nature. That's probably why they gravitate more to Republicans after the fact. But I still think, like you think and the other guy think, I think those are skewed numbers. I think they can't include people of color. I don't think so.
Yeah, it
I
wouldn't
don't think
surprise
so.
me if they. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't. But based on what you're saying, is that the Democratic Party, because single women have it harder, as you mentioned. They don't have the husband. If you got a child and you're single, life is more
Yeah,
difficult for single women as opposed to
and
married. And what you're saying is the Republican Party does not really do much to help single women compared to the Democratic Party.
yeah, I mean, and it's not, the guy on the video said more things like welfare and stuff like that. And it's Lily Ledbetter. Like I got a mom. My mom used to be a executive at UPS back in the
Mhm.
mid '80s. Um, she made way less than her male counterparts, but had to do the same job.
You know what's
You know,
interesting? You interesting. You bring up the wage gap, and I got to move it on soon, but I'll give you the last word because I had so many people. In fact, I was on someone else's live. I believe her name's Unpopular, something like that. Pretty girl. We're debating. She's a
hmm
right winger, and there were people in her live that are adamant that in 2022 the wage gap is a farce. That it does not exist. It's something that liberals are just making up. Are you saying that the
I
wage
mean,
gap is here in real right now in 2022?
okay, so if a guy has a wage area of say 120 to 150,000, and he's sitting in front of a committee, on
Mhm.
average, he's going to get the higher end if he resonate more with the group that's giving him the wage. So if he's a bunch of guys on the board that's voting for his wage, if he could golf with those guys, they got the same football team, they got the same lights, it's the same as being black. They're going to resonate with him more, and they're going to give him the higher end salary because his experience resonate more with them. So if a female's sitting in that same thing and
So,
she's being evaluated by a bunch of men on getting a salary in a range, they're going to give her the lower end because first off, it's going
so
to
why
be,
do you think there's so many?
you know,
So why do you think there's so many people, particularly on the right, that do not believe that the wage gap exists?
um, they, I think they know that a wage gap exists, but admitting that you're wrong with them, that's the things that the common sense things that we all go through every day. They know it's right. You know what I mean? I bet you whenever you debate them, they can't come with a fact. Like when you ask me, why single women resonate, I gave you policy. I listened to other
Yeah,
people
yeah,
answer that same question, and it was no policy. They went straight to the talking points. Welfare, it's better for women to have state. No, Lily Ledbetter Act, equal right, equal work for equal pay, financial aid, contraceptives and Roe versus Wade, that kind of thing.
right.
And you don't understand it. Okay, a woman Roe versus Wade with contraceptives. What if she can't get her? What if she has to pay real price for her birth control? Real price. What if that
She ain't
birth
gonna be able to
control is
afford it.
$400 a month?
Yeah, she ain't
That's
gonna be able
four
to
hundred
afford
dollars
it.
a month. She can't afford that.
Right.
That's a real problem.
Yeah,
You
that
know.
I agree. Well, I get that a
You
lot.
know.
I'm just simply saying I do get that a lot that folks, particularly on the right, do not believe the wage gap exists. But listen, I gotta move it on, coach.
All
Gotta
right. Take
part ways
care.
with you. Hey, you too. Have a good evening. All right, looking in the
Depends on your job. Someone said, Arlita said it depends on your job. More jobs pay more than others. And, not only does it depend on your job, but I will say this in regards to the wage gap. Sometimes it is the way women versus men deal with employment, meaning that, let's say, for instance, you have a project manager position and it's listed as a starting salary. Woo, appreciate that. Who the hell sent that? Thank you. It doesn't that says it for Mike. Thank you. Appreciate those fruits. Thank you for your generosity there. Let's say you have a project manager gig and it's advertised as starting pay between $70,000 and $90,000 for the job. And they interview and offer the job to both a man and a woman. Women tend to be softer in regards to negotiation. They're not as aggressive as men are. So there is a chance that women may accept the first offer, which might be $70,000. It's a window of 70 to 90,000. Whereas they may offer the man the same job, assuming their experiences is the same. They may offer the man the same 70,000. He may say, "No, I need 82,000 to start." So they end up getting both employed, and it's a $12,000 gap. And it's not because the employer was being unfair. It's just that one may have negotiated more than the other. In addition to that, it's also sometimes based on employment choices. Like, for instance, women tend to go for jobs that pay less. Women go for teachers, men go for principal. Women go for nurses, men go for doctors. And there's obviously a huge difference in pay there. But in addition to that, men can oftentimes enter females that are known for women and make more. Good example, myself being a male. If I went and applied for a teaching position, which is typically dominated by women, they need male teachers. There's not a lot of them. They need that father figure presentation in classes to keep some of these badass kids under control. Chances are I would get offered more. Same thing oftentimes when it comes to male nurses, because there's so few of them. So even in that case, we can oftentimes go into those fields and make more than the women in those fields. And I see your comment there, Kaiser Sose says many factors. That is true. That is absolutely true. Will Woods.
Time. Good evening, Will.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. We're talking about a few topics. I'm sure you've been listening into the program. I appreciate you holding there. President Pence, how does that roll off the tongue?
MAGA people, it won't fly.
You lean right or left?
I'm a libertarian.
Libertarian, right in the middle. What about yourself? Would you support someone like Pence over, say, Trump?
Depends on if he comes out the primary or not. If he was to win the primary, I mean, obviously.
What if it came down to Pence versus Trump in the primary? Where would you go?
I definitely gotta go with Trump.
Okay, fair enough. What is it about Pence that doesn't resonate?
I already know what I'm gonna get with Trump.
That is true. That's it. But with Trump, you also get the tweets in the division that you won't get with Pence. That's not a good enough selling point.
I honestly think with Trump, if he could dial that down just a little bit, I think he'd be a great president.
Yeah, right. But we know beyond the absolute reasonable doubt that that's not going to happen. He's not going to dial it down. We know that.
I know. That's a tough one there with that guy, because I think he could really be great if he could just dial it down for sure.
Right. But we understand that that's hoping for unicorns and rainbows. He's not going to dial it down. So if you go with Trump, remember the whole phrase, they never gave Trump a chance from day one. They were always trying to impeach him and things like that. If you vote Trump back in office, you're going to get that again.
Oh, I know, but that's the reason why I want to vote him in so bad.
So you want more division?
Well, to me, it's shedding light on how corrupt the media system really is.
Yeah, I get that. If his job is to drain the swamp and expose corruption, I'm fine with that. But if you only expose corruption and at the end of the day you don't remove any of it, what good is that?
Well, it is also pointing out the fact that both sides are one and the same, because he didn't have no help from the Republican side, really.
Yeah, so let's go with that. That's what I'm asking you. If his job was to drain the swamp, expose corruption, name names, after 4 years in office, he didn't get rid of anybody. So what good is exposing corruption if nothing happens from it?
I mean, that is absolutely a good question. I mean, it really does show, though, on both sides how horrible it really is. I mean,
but it's like having the federal government come into a neighborhood and show how poor the people are, and then they just go back home and do nothing about it. Exposing something without any type of outcome is meaningless, though. Yay, he exposed it. I mean, I don't see why that's really nothing to cheer about, because did nothing come out of that.
I would say that's definitely a problem for both sides too.
Yeah. So, but he promised to drain the swamp, for instance. What exactly did he even mean by that?
I think he's trying to get rid of the crony capitalism. Obviously, his big deal was like the pharmaceutical companies. He wanted to get lower costs as far as medication and stuff like that, which he did. He did a good job on that.
Yeah, but that's not draining the swamp.
It's not, but at least he's still trying to help. Trust me, I wish he would have went after Hillary a little bit more, and Hunter Biden. He never touched those two, really. He tried, but he just couldn't get nothing done.
Well, but let me ask you, how would the country be better off going at either Hillary Clinton or Hunter Biden? Neither one of them are in politics. I mean, let's say you get both of them in prison. How, in regards to making America great, other than just being able to chalk it up as a notch on the belt that I got rid of two corrupt individuals, taking out Hillary Clinton at this point is no different than taking out a gang member or a drug dealer or a American greed person. It's not benefiting anyone. She's not in politics. I mean, why would you want to have the president waste time on that because that's what's going to happen to Trump if he doesn't get reelected, is you're going to have Democrats saying they want to have Trump taken out like that. But I don't see how it really benefits anyone.
Well, he did just get raided. He's not in politics right now either.
Who?
Trump Mar-a-Lago got raided, and he's not in politics. So they're constantly still
Wait a
going
minute.
after.
Wait a minute. I disagree from this point. When Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, she basically went and took a seat and sat and shut the hell up. She did a few interviews, but that was about it. When Trump lost in 2020, he continued holding campaign rallies. He continued being involved in elections up to and including the midterm, picking out candidates and everything. So you saying Trump is not in politics? I gotta disagree with you. Herschel Walker would not be there without Trump. Dr. Oz would have not been in the race without Trump. Trump is definitely
both
involved
horrible
in politics.
candidates. I would agree with that. They're both horrible candidates.
But he's in politics. Those are Trump people.
And to piggyback off the Hillary, she did come back afterwards and say that the election was stolen. She did.
Yeah, but not like Trump. Not like Trump. I mean, Trump literally never stopped campaigning. He has. I don't think since Trump has been gone for 2 years now. Has he really even went like 2 months without holding a rally?
I think he just started up his rallies not that long ago.
No, I've been televising them. He just started them up because I've been showing them on the broadcast. He just started them up. He's been rallying for a minute.
I think it was about a year before the midterms. I think he started going again.
Okay, so once he starts getting involved in rallies and he's going from city to city criticizing Democrats, is that not in politics?
Well, I mean, we could. Doesn't Hunter Biden? Isn't he in Biden's cabinet? Doesn't he have something to do with Biden's cabinet?
No, not that I know of. I've never heard of Hunter Biden having a job in Biden's cabinet. And by the way, Trump is actually selling Trump 2024 gear. So how would you say he's not in politics? He's selling gear that says he's in politics.
I mean, obviously, yes, he's in politics, but
yeah. The minute if I started selling handsome liberal 2024 shit, how can I say I'm not in politics? You're literally selling stuff that says you are. He's still raising money. I have not listen, I'm on both the Democratic campaign list and I'm on Trump and the Republicans. I think Trump is 80810 or 80822. Trump never stopped raising campaign funds. I haven't received any campaign solicitations from Hillary Clinton in years. Trump never stopped raising campaign funds.
You're probably right on that. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't put them in the same category as saying that, Trump is not a politician just like Hillary. Trump is deeply involved in politics still. He is knee deep in it, up to and including a particular claim of said he's going to make a special announcement this time tomorrow night. So he is knee deep in it.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to announce he's going to run for sure.
You think that's a good idea?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Now you're an independent, right? You're a libertarian.
I am. Yep.
Okay. You sound more like Trump, which I have no problem with on the program, but you sound more like you're in the camp for Trump. Give me another right. How would you feel about DeSantis?
I like DeSantis a lot. I do, but I think his run's going to have to be 28.
What if it came down to DeSantis saying, screw Trump, I'm going to run in 2024, and it was a primary of Trump versus DeSantis? Where are you going?
Do you know who Ken Griffin is?
The baseball player?
No. He's the CEO of a major hedge fund.
Okay, what about? No, I don't know who he is. What about him?
Well, he's backing DeSantis, and I don't know if I could do that. That's big money.
So if it came down to DeSantis versus Trump, you're going with Trump?
I have to, yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That may happen. That actually may happen. I don't
It's
know.
a big possibility, yeah.
And so you wouldn't go with DeSantis because you believe he's being backed by big money?
Of course he is. He ain't
Can
no
you
different
win
than
a Can you win a presidential race without being backed by big money?
I guess if you're Bernie Sanders, you get robbed
Yeah.
by Democrats. He should have been the nominee, but I think it's very possible.
Okay. But you got to admit it's a hell of a lot more difficult to do that because you
For
need
sure. Yeah, for
far
sure.
many more donations.
Yeah, I agree. For sure. Yeah, it's
Okay.
tough.
All right. So I guess if let's say Trump doesn't run and you just get DeSantis on the ticket, would you back him then because he's still being backed by big money?
I mean, I guess I'd have to. I mean,
Okay. So you're not very keen on DeSantis though.
don't get me wrong. I wish he'd stay in Florida. I think he'd be better off in Florida. Now, if he came out and said that he was going to go and he won the primary, I mean, I guess I'd have to back him for sure.
Okay. Let's say Trump, for some reason, he doesn't run in DeSantis. Who other than DeSantis, and let's say Trump is not on the ticket, are there any other Republicans out there that you would favor running in 2024?
Rand Paul, I like him a lot. I
Have
like
you
Ron.
heard what he said about Trump recently?
Yeah, he doesn't like him. But
Yeah.
I go with. I mean, he was always my initial candidate that I really like because he's kind of libertarian, just like me.
Okay.
Um,
Would you pick him over Trump?
I did in the primary, yeah.
And
In
you do it
16.
again? You would do it again?
I don't know. I think Trump did a very good job for what he
Yeah.
was,
Okay.
as far as what was the task at
Fair
hand.
enough. Hey, listen, I have no problem with Maga for certain. If you think he did a good job, then that's where your vote should go. Okay, well, Willow, I got to move it on. Yeah, you're always welcome back on the program, no man.
Hey, you were very cordial. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. All right, looking in the comments, MAZ says he's definitely in the cult. Why do you guys automatically assume all Trump supporters are cult-like? Oh my God. He's going to vote for Trump regardless. Okay. To my previous caller, folks listening to you definitely believe you are knee deep in the Trump camp. He's running Florida into the ground, says Lex. You think that DeSantis is running Florida into the ground? I gotta totally disagree with that. Not only did he win by a stellar margin in Florida, he pulled a lot of other Republican politicians across the finish line as well. What DeSantis is doing in Florida is nothing short of historic. I don't see how. Now, maybe in 4 years, 8 years, or whatever the hell in the future, we may look back and say Florida is not better off having had DeSantis. But right now, they love him. They love him. Going back to the box. Authentically becoming. Good evening. Authentic. Welcome back to the program. If it lets me on, I don't know why the box is acting this way. Let me try it again here. It didn't take authentic for some reason, but we'll try with. And I do see Rainy in it. Why not? Good evening.
Good afternoon.
What part of the country are you in?
Actually, probably good evening, more like it.
Yeah.
Hey, just want to say, first of all, I watch you all the time, and I've been hollering to my phone all night long watching this show. But I will say you are probably one of the most fairest people on TikTok, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely a pleasure hearing that. Thank you very much. So what do you think? Mike Pence, how does that roll off the President Pence, how does that roll off the tongue?
Absolutely not. And here's why.
Go ahead.
Here's why. Do you remember McCain and the President Obama's debate?
In 08, yes.
You remember how McCain tried to play the nice guy and Obama just rolled all over him?
Yeah, I do
Right?
remember that.
So
Yeah.
picture this, right? So I'm sitting here watching that debate, and President Obama is just crushing him. And McCain's playing the nice guy because he has his, moral evictions or whatever, and just allowed Obama just to crush him. So
well, let me ask you this,
Pence
though.
is that guy.
But let me ask you this. Okay, let's say Pence is the nice guy that could get crushed like you're stating. After 4 years of talks like a typical New Yorker, he's brash like Trump, and then the division we've had under Biden. What about the notion that maybe some voters just want a nice guy at this point? And if you get up there and try to trash him, it may work to your detriment because people are tired of divisive politics. Maybe being a nice guy may actually be a benefit.
I agree. I'm from Indiana, right?
Mm-hmm.
And was a Pence fan. Still a Pence fan, right? But I will tell you that politics is dirty. And politics, you should have moral eviction, which I think a lot of times politics have lost that altogether. But I just see Pence, he's just too nice of a guy, and he will get into a situation where he's debating somebody and he's just not going to go for the jugular. And unfortunately, in the world we live in today, because it's all that 30-second soundbite, right? You look at what's his name, Dr. Oz. He made one statement when he said local politicians should be involved in the decision of abortion. They took one statement and just ran with it.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad statement. But let me ask you to
I agree, but
what about in regards to your comment that Pence is nice? Kamala Harris trounced President Biden in a debate. She made him look like a racist. Biden still won, and even though Kamala Harris was aggressive, she had a debate with Mike Pence. She had a VP debate with Mike Pence. She didn't run all over him, did she?
Well, I'm really not a fan of Kamala Harris. First of all, she called Biden a racist and also said that she believed the women over Biden. So basically, she called Biden an SA person. And then we turned around, and not we, but Biden turned around and chose a person that basically accused him of sexual or SA and a racist, and says, "Hey, come over here, be my partner."
Well, did you hear Lindsey?
Jacked.
But that's what happens. Did you not hear Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz calling Trump a racist in the primaries as well? And now look at
absolutely.
them. Yeah, that's just what they do.
Yeah, my friend, I will. I definitely lean right. But I will tell you is that I look at both sides the same damn way. Is that the hypocrisy in politics? I've been watching it for years. The hypocrisy, Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham just trashed Trump. Yeah. And then 2 minutes later, they're supporters.
Yeah. Well, you got to think with the way Trump took office, he literally came to power by essentially trashing everyone, which is why I often tell my folks on the right, my beloved MAGA folks, is that for folks who complain that Trump never got a chance from day one, you're not going. No one, doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right, no one is going to come to power doing what Trump did and get a fair shake from day one. If you act like that, you're going to have enemies, no matter what side of the aisle you're on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Trump. The problem with Trump is he won't shut up. Right?
No, we agree.
He just, I voted for him. I voted for him twice. I didn't vote for him because that's the problem is that everybody that especially on TikTok, if you voted for him, you're a Trumpster, right? I don't vote for a politician. I vote for policy, right?
Okay. All
So
right.
just when I mentioned something in TikTok in these debates and I mentioned that I voted for Trump, instantly all of a sudden I'm flagged as a Trumpster. I mean, Trump is a narcissistic, arrogant buffoon that won't shut up.
Yeah. But that's just politics. I mean, the same thing with us liberals. Just like you guys get called cult members and racists and all of that stuff. We all get called socialists. I'm a diehard capitalist. I believe in capitalism for certain. And yeah, the minute you say you're a liberal, you're a socialist. I mean, so that's just kind of politics to some degree.
I mean, the thing about it is I've listened to you, so I already know what you are,
Yeah,
right?
but I
'Cause
shouldn't have to. But the problem is, you had to listen to me first. I'm saying that a lot of Republicans would just see you and brand you as a socialist unless they have to listen to you. But they stereotype you from day one as a socialist.
I agree. A lot of the Republicans are like that, but not all, right? And vice
Okay.
versa. When I have friends that are Democrats, that are what I call Bill Clinton Democrats,
Okay.
that are moderate, more centrist versus the far left. Like that guy that said he wanted to change the voting age to 14 to 15 years old. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I almost threw my phone on the. Yeah, I mean, think about this. And I'm going to struggle calling you handsome liberal because but I mean, think about this is that those people that are 14 and 15, what are they going to do? Right? They're going to walk in and vote exactly the way that mommy and daddy tells them to vote.
That is true, but he gave two pretty good counter arguments because I asked the same thing you said. Do 15-year-olds even give a shit about voting? But he made two good counterpoints. One being there are people who are in their 30s and 40s that don't know anything about politics either. There are women and men that just vote what their family or their spouses told you. So even though you're talking about young kids who do it, there are plenty of full-grown adults that do the same thing. The second point he made is if they're paying taxes, isn't that not taxation without representation? If you're
Yeah,
taking taxes out of that if you're taking taxes out of that 16-year-old's check and he can't vote, that's taxation without representation. I think he made some good arguments.
agreed. But they're not adults, right? You're making an
Then
adult
don't take their
decision.
money. Then don't
What's
take
that?
their money if
Oh,
they're not
hey,
adults.
hey, I would be a fan of that. Taxing a 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, I'd be okay with that. But and I agree with you that there are 30-year-olds that don't know what are the three branches of government, right? I
Yeah.
would be I would be a huge fan of having to take like maybe a 15 question test before you had to vote. Who is what is the three branches of the government? What state do
Yeah,
you
but
live
then
in?
that sounds like Jim Crow stuff. And I'm not talking I know you're not
Yeah,
talking about
I,
from
I, I
racism,
agree.
but
That was in
yeah.
jest when
Yeah,
I
you
said that.
can't. You can't test voters because I'll tell you, there's a hell of a lot of Americans that are over the age of 35, 40 years old that don't even know a single amendment. So if you start testing voters at 14 and you start having these kids step up and say, "Are you smarter than a 14-year-old?" and they can read the whole damn Constitution and you're 30 and you can't, they're gonna say, "Well, you shouldn't be voting either." So
Agreed.
I wouldn't be a fan of doing that.
But you can't be a fan of the 14 or 15-year-old. That that
I don't,
that just
it's yeah, I
because
get the
here's
point.
the thing is that if you look at the maturity level, so my parents, I'm 49, right? My parents got married when they were 16 and 18, many, many moons ago. Their maturity
Mhm.
level back then was entirely different than what a 16 and 18-year-old today. You look at the maturity
I
level and
agree.
it
I
changes
agree.
every generation.
Yeah, I agree 100% about the maturity level. And on its face, I could never see entertaining a 15, 16-year-old voting. However, I am one who always admits I call a spade a spade. I call a strike, no matter who's up to bat. And I'm willing to concede a point if someone makes a better counter argument. And the way that counter argument was presented, meaning the two things you're talking about, maturity and paying taxes, if I was a judge sitting on the bench, even though I'm not a fan of young kids voting, and that person made that argument like my caller did by saying taxation without representation and stating that even though 14 or 15 seems immature, I can show you a housewife that doesn't know a damn thing about politics and she's voting based on her husband. I would have to let the 14 or 15-year-old vote because I think the counter argument is pretty damn strong is that we're talking about 14 and 15-year-olds are too immature, but there are plenty of folks that are well above the age of maturity that are just as immature, just as unknowledgeable, lack knowledge on politics. So I would have to, at the end of the day, even though I don't necessarily agree with it, if I'm sitting on the bench and a lawyer present that argument like that caller did, I'm gonna let the young person vote. Taxation
All right,
without representation and maturity and everything.
so let me throw this back at you then. Do you agree
Sure.
that felons should be able to vote?
Yes. Once they have done their time, in my opinion, it's like this. If you've paid your debt to society, why are they still charging you? If you have did your time, you're no longer on probation, no longer on parole. Why are they still trying their best to make your life miserable? As a
Okay,
liberal,
so
this is what I'm very passionate about on a number of levels. If you want the recidivism rate to drop, if you want that person to become acclimated back in society, treat them like a member of society. Remove all of these limitations.
okay, that's fair. So let me pull that back and say, what about people in prison?
Well, if you want to take away the right of somebody who's in prison from voting, I'm not, listen, I could go either way on that. I'm not going to fight hardcore for somebody who's serving time in prison to vote, but I'm saying if they're out walking around in society, they should be able to vote.
Okay, what about immigrants that are being taxed, but they're not citizens?
That's a good point there. Listen, I
Because
moved to
taxation
Australia.
by
Yeah, but you're not a citizen of the country, and the country is meant to represent its citizens. I lived in Australia for 5 years, and I worked on their system, and I did get involved in their politics a little bit from just following it and making phone calls and things like that. But I never tried to vote. I would not have legally been able to vote. I just have a hard time believing most immigrants coming to this country are interested in voting. When you get here, you're just happy to have the freedoms of being in America, particularly if you come from a third world country. You don't give a shit about voting. You're just happy to be here. I have a hard time believing somebody would sneak into this country through the desert or get smuggled in and show up to a polling place. I just don't see that that's a major issue.
well, it is if they realize that their vote is going to determine their legal status, right? So if I get a bunch of people out there hitting the streets and saying, listen, you vote for my guy is going to help you become legal. All of a
Knowing
sudden,
that
their
if you
interest becomes very, very escalated. Would you
Yeah, but
agree?
if you show up to the polling place, you're going to a government location where you could be deported trying to cast that vote, trying to cast that vote. To me, that's the last thing I'm thinking of when I first come here. If I came here as an illegal, is trying to go out and vote. I'm trying to make a living. If I want to send money home to the family or something like that, getting involved in the election system of a foreign country, that would be way down the line on my
Well, I
list.
did say documented immigrant, people that are here legally, where they're going through the process,
Yeah.
not illegal.
Okay. I mean, I don't believe they should vote. If that, I don't believe it's as big of a problem as the Republicans make it out to be. But no, I don't think you should be able to vote unless you have at least residency, but preferably citizenship. Anyway, I do have to move it on though. But yeah, I don't think illegal should be able to vote. I'm not a fan of that at all.
I just think you have to be careful when you go down a rabbit hole. When you use the taxation versus representation, you go down that rabbit hole, all of a sudden
Well,
everything else comes with it.
representation is meant for citizens, not people who are visiting or coming here. I mean, if that's the case, if Justin Bieber comes to the country and performs a concert, he's getting paid and he's being taxed. Should he be able to vote while he's here real quick? No, I don't. I don't think any overseas, Sam Smith comes to America to perform a concert or Elton John. They're getting taxed on the concert revenue. No, I don't think they should be able to vote based on that. So the representation is for the citizens.
Agreed. And I know you
All
got to
right.
run, but man, I sure wanted to talk about that minimum wage. I'll catch you again.
You sure will. You're welcome back, man. Good talk.
All right, my friend. Have a good one.
You too. All right. In the comments, I'm gonna go straight to, I believe it was Rainey that was in there. Appreciate you holding on. Back. Good evening, Rainey.
Well, hello, friend. How are you?
It's a pleasure. I'm doing good. What do you think about some of the things we discussed? One of the things I want to run by you, because I'm sure you were not in here at the time. This is a real quick clip. I want you to listen to this, being a female, and you tell me, what do you think? This is Jesse Waters from Fox News, and he's giving a spiel, and this is about female voters. Let me know what you think about this.
Democrats are dominating the cities. I mean, absolute dominations, 85 to 15 types of spreads. Also, single women are breaking for Democrats by 30 points. And this makes sense when you think about how Democrat policies are designed to keep women single. But once women get married, they vote Republican. Married women, married men go for Republicans by double digits. But single women and voters under 40 have been captured by Democrats. So we need these ladies to get married. And abortion is really driving turnout. In some cases,
What is it about getting married that makes women want to vote GOP? Or do you agree with what he's saying at all?
I don't I don't agree with that bullshit. That's like some BS. When we vote, we don't go into the voting polls and mark we're married or single. That's some Fox News bullshit. Anyway,
Well, but
moving on, because you're making me
no, but
mad
wait a
about this
minute though.
DeSantis nonsense.
Wait a minute. So you don't think there's any validity in the notion that women who are married tend to vote Republican more than women that are single?
No, I'm married. Everybody, I mean, you act like Democrats aren't married.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let me ask
that's
you
a
this.
fallacy that the right has been pushing.
Fair enough. Let me ask you this. Would you have an issue with a spouse, lover, boyfriend if they had politics that were 180 degrees of yours? In other words, you fell for the guy and then you find out he's attending Trump rallies. Would you have any problem with that?
Oh no. Oh fuck! I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. One, because you would be voting against my rights as a citizen, as a human being. You would be voting against me. So no, I couldn't. I couldn't be in no relationship with nobody. I can't even be in a relationship with somebody who's got a different football team. So that's kind of crazy how I am. So yeah, we're not even about to go there on no politics. No, we are not about to have no divided household on no type of plane here. But I want to get to this DeSantis conversation because I feel like you, liberal, you always give DeSantis like this unadulterated, I mean, like just it's not even warranted, it's unwarranted like praise. And I don't even understand where you're coming from.
Did you
Like
see his
you even, I mean,
performance?
even you, I
Wait.
called you out the other week. You was
Did you
talking about
see?
the
Wait
red
a minute
wave
though.
and the Democrats was shit.
Well, shit, everybody was talking about the fucking red wave, but did you see DeSantis' performance in the state of Florida? How could you overlook that?
I see it. I'm gonna be like the Trump supporters. That shit is rigged, man. Like I don't believe none of those votes.
You killing it tonight. You said it's rigged.
I believe they've been doing a whole lot of funny business, okay, out in Florida. So anyway, moving along.
So
Moving along.
DeSantis,
But that other gentleman was also talking about oh, go ahead.
no, so DeSantis did not perform very well in Florida. He rigged that shit, is what you're saying. You there?
I believe because
Okay.
it's already been proven. Can you hear me? I
Yeah, I
believe
can hear
because
you.
it's already been proven that the Republican Party was going into some of these old folks homes and they were changing people's voter roll. They were changing the voter party of the people that were supposed to be voting. So I believe they did some funny business. And of course, he has his whole election police, the only state in America who has election police, and nobody could see the votes. The federal government was trying to come in and oversee the elections in Florida, and he vetoed that somehow. I don't know how he got that done, but somehow he was able to block the federal government to come in to make sure the votes were right.
I covered that on the show. Biden tried to send the Department of Justice down there to oversee things, and he did block him. But the reason I give DeSantis praise is just because of the performance. Now, if you want to say it's rigged, then we can debate that. But how many did the guy win? Like 60 counties or something? I mean, he won a lot of Florida. A lot of Florida went in favor of
The
DeSantis.
whole
So,
state. I mean, like you said, I mean, he even won Miami-Dade County, which is crazy, right? Which is just absurd to me, in my opinion. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I really want to get back onto the Democrats because, once again, Carrie Lake
he
loses.
lost. Yeah,
Katie Hobbs
another Trump
wins
candidate.
in Arizona.
Yeah, another Trump candidate goes
Another
down.
Trump candidate.
So
But this is what I wanted to say to you because I feel like, hold on.
go ahead.
I feel like you've been swayed by these polls and the polls, especially for the president. Like everybody's believing the president's polls have been so low. But if we can sit here and listen to, we know that the Republicans have been paying the pollsters to change the fucking polls so it suits their narrative. Why would we not believe that they've been doing the same shit for the president? Like none of
Well,
this
let me
stuff makes
let me
sense to
say
me.
this in
Joe
regard.
Biden is not
Okay,
a Donald Trump. Joe Biden is a good president. Sorry, go ahead.
well, in regards to the polls, now obviously, as you're pointing out, the polls were historically wrong. We get that, but I believe the reason they were wrong. I'm going to go with Fred Luntz. He's an ABC pollster, and what he stated, and I believe this. He stated that because the folks on the right do not tend to be honest with polls, such as they don't want to say they voted for Trump because they believe they will be mistreated or they will face consequences for admitting they're MAGA. A lot of folks on the right lie to pollsters. They believe, therefore, they inflated, they artificially gave the Republicans a few extra points, believing that a lot of folks that were lying to the pollsters and were actually going to vote right, like what happened in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. And it turns out they were not lying to that great degree. But that is what he stated, is that they gave the Republican side of the aisle
Well,
on the belief that they don't trust pollsters extra points that they didn't deserve it and didn't vote for this time.
well, I like I said, like some of these questions, do you think the country's going in the wrong direction? And if you answered that question, I would say, yes, the country is going in the wrong direction. But that doesn't automatically equate that to because of President Biden or the Democrats. But that's the
Okay.
narrative that the posters and the media tried to sell everybody. Yeah, I feel like the country's going in the wrong direction. I mean, I feel like the capitalism has completely tried to price out all the citizens. And I mean, there's a multitude of reasons why I believe the country's going in the wrong direction. Has nothing to do with President Biden. And I think that's the fallacy of these polls. And I wish they would just go away. And I wish that the media would not just co-sign that shit like it's all true.
Yeah.
No, we don't think Joe Biden is the cause of inflation. That's not what's happening here. He's not the cause of gas prices. None of that is the cause. He's not the cause. We live in
Well,
that reality, which is why his party did much better because Democrats are smarter than Republicans. We don't blame presidents for shit he has no control over. We live
well,
in a
this is
capitalist
one.
society. Why would we not blame the rich people?
Well, this is one where we're going to disagree again. I do believe that more people in the country are blaming Biden, even though you mentioned it's a global issue. But I do believe more people in the country are blaming Biden for inflation and gas prices than not. I just think the fact is they rolled back Roe versus Wade, and that was harmful enough to overtake the worries about the economy. And I say it on my program all the time: if a woman that is,
I know you got other callers. I know you got other callers. I will agree with you on that lens.
yeah,
Women are the majority in this country, and you took away our right from women. I
yeah.
don't know why anybody would believe these polls. It's like Michael Moore said, that like all these polls are now suggesting that we would stop caring about our own rights for our own vaginas and then let the government control us. Like that's just the most craziest shit ever. When Obama came into office, he had a bad economy. It wasn't because Obama did anything wrong. It's because George Bush left the economy destroyed, just like Donald Trump did. When Biden came into office, the economy was fucking collapsed. And nobody is
Yeah,
actually
but here's
remembering
the
what was
difference. Wait a
happening in
minute.
2021.
Here's the difference, though. Under George W. Bush, it was a bullshit war that we should never got in. And George Bush, the housing crisis, George Bush screwed the economy up. Under President Trump, we got to give, I mean, if you want to say he mismanaged COVID, we can debate that. But COVID is what happened to the economy under President Trump. Because if you go back to the first 2 years of Trump, the economy wasn't doing bad. COVID hit and it became a different factor. But Trump's economy wasn't bad.
Okay, so then if you live in that lens, then why isn't President Biden given the same opportunity, the same grace that it was COVID that started this? Why do you co-sign this whole idea that it's not Biden, it's the COVID?
Because
why couldn't it be equally the same?
Because the pandemic is not equally the same under Biden as it was under Trump. Under Trump, people were dying. You had the CDC and the FDA saying close everything down. They're not saying that under Biden. They're okay with you opening things up and the economy still sucks.
But you do realize that you can't just restart a whole economy in less than a year, as if like Biden, I mean, I feel like Biden's getting blamed for the shit that happened that he had no control over. He didn't cause COVID, neither did Donald Trump. And I'm going to say that Trump did not cause COVID, but I just feel like there's never any grace for Joe Biden. It's always Joe Biden. You're supposed to be better than Donald Trump and better than every other president.
Yeah, but I think that Trump got blamed for things. I mean, I agree with you that Biden is getting blamed for stuff that may be global and not necessarily his fault. But that would happen with Trump as well. When things started going bad with COVID under Trump, he was getting blamed for that. Like you said, when Biden took office, it was from Trump's economy.
What?
Trump got blamed for that. So no, I
literally telling people we need to inject ourselves with bleach. Like he was doing all types of shit that was against all types of rationale. Like, come on, you gotta. This is what frustrates me with you, but I'm gonna let your next caller come up. I love you, Shield. Me and you are gonna have some battles, and like I told you the last time I was on the call, the Democrats is gonna take the House. Watch it. I'll give it to Wednesday. I'll be on this phone. I'll be on this. I'll be on your line.
Wait.
Democrats are gonna keep the House.
The House?
We're gonna keep the House. We're gonna keep the House by one seat. Watch.
Damn. You really believe that?
It's going to happen. Man, we've been flipping houses all across this country. We're going to take the House.
Right
Pelosi
now,
will be the speaker. Pelosi will be the speaker.
You optimistic as hell. I got CNN on behind me. It's 204, 214 right now. The Republicans need 4 more congressional seats, and the Democrats obviously need 14. You believe they're going to take the House, huh? Damn,
that's because 11 seats haven't been called in California. Yeah. If you have 11 seats in California that haven't been called, that's the math. Look at the math, man. Like, that's the math.
You certainly got priority on this program. If you call that shit, I'll be apologizing to you for the next 2-3 times we talk. I will come out and say
we'll be talking on Wednesday. Let's give it Wednesday, Thursday.
All right,
my brother. I love you. I hope everybody has a good evening.
You too. I will put on the monitor. Rainey is the shit. Good. Okay, let me go to the comments. The House Democrats taking the House. You guys believe that, huh? Wow. That is very optimistic. As a liberal, I'd welcome it, of course, but the Democrats taking the House. Nancy Pelosi remaining as the speaker. That is very, very optimistic. But then again, I was wrong about the midterms, like most Americans, most pollsters, and virtually all of the right was as well. So, I mean, shit, anything is possible, but damn, that's optimistic. And I see Double Luck says not optimistic, myopic. Okay. Shit. More like epic. I don't know. Listen, I don't think that's going to happen, but I would certainly welcome it. Let's try authentically becoming again, if it'll let you come on this time.
Hey.
Please be coming. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, you think the Democrats are going to take the House?
I sure hope they do. I think they're going to take it by...
That ain't what I asked you. You think they're going to do it?
I think they're going to do it by a hair. A hair.
Ooh, really? Wow. Okay, all right, we own to something too. They gonna take. They down by 10 seats, but as Randy pointed out, there's still a lot of uncalled seats in California. That's saying something. Now you're talking. If the Democrats, they've already took the Senate. If they take the House, then it officially was a blue wave. It was a blue wave officially if they maintain the House as well. I don't know. I would love to see it. That would put Biden. I mean, it's in regards to his first midterm, that would put him at historic, at a historic high that I don't know when is the last time we had a president that would have matched that in his first midterm.
He had a historic high by becoming president. He had the most votes
Yeah.
ever.
What is it about Biden that's turning him into the old man that could?
It's not so much him, it's more so the fact that we have made it part of pop culture now that we talk about voting more. On the other hand, we also have had historical events that keep happening over and over to where comedians, even every month, are making comedy jokes about the different things going on in our society. So I think it's a
Does he,
combination of a lot of things. And of course,
do
like you
you
said,
believe do you believe President Biden owes any of his success to Trump?
no, I think he owes his
Really?
success to his being involved with the Obama administration for the meme culture, because he was really only known by the fact of the meme culture. Can you tell me any other VP that people knew by name, other than the fact that when Trump was going into office, there were memes about how Biden
Dick,
didn't
wait,
like
wait,
him?
wait. You're telling me a VP people didn't know about Dick Cheney was very well known during the Bush administration. He was considered as the architect of the war. Dick Cheney was
Right,
well known.
right, but was he well known among the youth?
Oh, well, no, probably not. I mean, yeah, you got a point there, maybe.
With Biden, you had the meme culture where they were making all the jokes, and he was in the White House, and he's like, "Oh, I went ahead and changed the doorknobs, or I took all the pencils or whatever," like all the little jokes they were making, or we're going to a funeral and Obama says, "Whose funeral are we going to today, Biden?" He was like, "America's," because Trump was going into the office. Like all those little things, people remembered him. He became a person that even if you didn't necessarily know him by name, as a youth, you would have seen his face and you would have seen something funny. So it became beyond just the SNL thing, like somebody was saying. It went into Facebook, and even if you look for his name, you'd find stuff like that. So yeah,
So
people forgot, but he became a meme.
let me run this by you. Mav21 in the comments is saying even with the lowest approval rating, something smells fishy. So because Biden's approval rating, even among Democrats, is not very high. So the question, how is he doing so well when even his own party is suggesting that he does not run again, and his approval rating, even among Democrats, is pretty low? How can he be doing this well? Because Mav is saying something sounds fishy, like you can't be doing one and having these high numbers with this low approval rating. How do you view that?
I feel that that's kind of like what somebody just said. We've got a social media culture, and with that, I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean it as we expect things quickly. We expect results fast. If we can watch a TikTok, or we can, learn how to make an Excel sheet in 2 minutes, then
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's in office should be able to push through and make sure abortion rights are back on the plate for everybody and get this state thing changed. Or you should be able to go ahead and fix the healthcare system right away, because people are still dealing with the healthcare system right now in America, having issues with finding beds. I think it goes back to the economy as well, simply because we have Powell throwing our points up there on interest rates every quarter right now to try to get this inflation under control. Everyone automatically wants to blame the president, because that is
Yep.
the thing. That's just the way it is. Anything that goes good, you give it to the president. Anything that goes bad, you give it to the president. Same thing
Right.
happened with Trump in a way. I hate to say it. I look back now, and I think that his administration did what they thought was the right thing to do in certain circumstances, to shut down and or tell people it's up to them to make a decision to shut down their state. But then at the same time, I look back and I think of all the things that we felt like we should have just had a straight one-way policy, but no country had a straight one-way policy that was working.
Yeah.
So I think
So how do you feel about after the first 2 years of Biden? Do you think he's doing a good job?
if I'm honest with you, I wouldn't call it a good job. I would call it a mediocre job. The reason
Give
I
me
say
give me
that,
a letter grade. Give me a letter grade. A, B, C, D, or F.
B
Biden.
minus.
That's a good job. That's better than average.
It's not going to get you into your next class.
A B? That's a 3.0.
That's not going to get you into your next class for it to count on your degree if you're going on a B elective to get in. I know, because that's what I'm going through right now. Is I got to make sure I get an 83. You got to get that 83 for it to count for your degree.
Shit,
That's what they say.
that depends on what school you. When I got my master's degree, I had to get a 3.0. That was good enough. Depends on
Yeah.
what school you go to.
Well, at my school right now, they're saying 83 to 86 is what you got to have for it to count. It'll get you to the next class. You'll pass, but you're not going to get it on your degree. You're going to have to take it
Okay.
again, which sucks. I'm trying to.
Really? That your school's demanding a lot. That's damn near an A they're demanding.
I
An
know.
83, yeah, that's high.
I
Yeah,
know.
most places a 3.0 is good. If you got a
That's why I'm
3.0 in
saying,
this,
to be
yeah,
honest
that's
with you
pretty
right now,
high.
that's why I'm like, Biden, I just want you to know you're not getting the degree from me right now. You're going to have to go ahead and start working on some other stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Fair enough.
But
Okay.
yeah,
So in regards to one of the topics before we move on, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the notion that Jesse Waters is stating that married women tend to vote more GOP than single women?
if I were to think about it, it's probably with the idea that they're thinking about their home financials. If their husbands are in jobs that are making good money and
Hmm.
their husbands are Republican, then they're potentially going to lean towards the idea that they have to get in line with their husbands and vote in their direction simply because they want to keep their household running a very specific way. But that's also with the idea that women, if they are in the workforce, are making less money than men. So it's not to say necessarily that they lean towards those ways because of their own individual wants, but if their man is making the money and they know that their man is making their money under jobs that are Republican geared jobs, and not like teachers or this or that, and they're not getting raises and they're not getting
What
this
is
and
a
that.
what is a Republican geared job though?
Business.
Okay, like small business or something. Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough. So you do believe that women are often influenced by how their husband is voting.
they're influenced by how their husband is making money.
Okay. So let me ask you the question I asked Rainey before you. It, in regards to a lover, husband, boyfriend, could you be with someone whose politics was 180 degrees of yours?
Yes.
Okay. So you wouldn't have like guy as a Trump supporter, he's at the rallies every weekend. You'd have no problem with that.
As long as he can keep the credit cards with me, I don't want any of those hats in the house.
Wait, say that again.
I said, as long as he keeps the credit cards with me, because I don't want any of them hats in my house.
So you come home and this is on the bed. Maybe he laying there butt naked with a MAGA hat on. You don't like that?
No, I'm going to need him to go ahead and give me that credit card so I can go buy a lighter so we can do something about that hat.
Oh my God. Okay, so no Confederate comforters or nothing like that, huh?
Nope. Not allowed. I don't even like the color red that much. It clashes with my skin tone.
All right, fair enough. All right, authentic. I gotta move it on. Good
Alrighty.
talk.
Absolutely. Have
Good
a
talk.
good night.
You too. You too. It's a pleasure. In the comments. So she has no money. Come on, Robbie Ricketts. I didn't ask the woman about her finances, but I mean, she's trying to make a point. Hard Head Herbert, friend of the program. Welcome back and good evening. Yeah,
Yes, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good. President Mike Pence. How does that roll off the tongue?
And Vice President Herschel Walker.
Oh shit, you went way off the deep end. You down with that ticket?
I can't even say yeah. That's just so hilarious.
You know something, even as a liberal who would probably not want to see a President Pence, I could live with that as opposed to a Vice President Herschel. That's scary. Vice President Herschel was scary. So, I mean, Pence is just a politician who has different values than I do, but he is a respectable politician. Herschel was just something that was created. He is a Trump puppet. So, I can't see Herschel doing anything.
Not according to Lindsey Graham. You see Lindsey Graham talking about Herschel Walker, who is a great role model for African Americans to become conservative Republicans.
Oh my God! Well, I'm assuming he probably thinks. I'm assuming he probably thinks Candace Owens was a great role model, and Kanye West is the bomb as well. I don't know. Herschel Walker to me he's awful. He's bloody awful for a politician. Stick to doing autographs. For a politician, it's just not. It ain't working.
No, and he lucked out with the runoff. But I want to say this: Joe Biden, he don't have the Midas touch. He's like Rumpelstiltskin. He can take straw and turn to gold. Because every time they try to give him something bad, he whip it up. He is the goat. Every time it says, "Well, look," he done got the best unemployment in 40, 60 years. He won with the highest voter turnout. All the things he's doing, he's like the best or the lead of any president that have come before him. This thing with this midterm election, they had never seen nothing like that before. And I want to congratulate you because last week you was wearing red, but tonight you got on blue. Did you make it out of makeup pills?
I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna let you. Good observation. I'm gonna leave that alone. But how do you think? What do you think is causing Biden to have so much success? He's turning into the old man with dementia that could. He's succeeding. What is because didn't he say when he was where was he at when he said nobody fucks with Biden on a hot mic or something like that? That man is actually succeeding. What's causing that?
He got a lot of experience. He ain't like Trump. He just fell out the chair and became president. And it's like, you ever ask yourself, I mean, really try to get the flavor. How did Trump become president?
Oh,
and almost be like Herschel Walker becoming president.
Well,
It's like Donald Trump.
but with Trump, he was for folks who supported Trump. He was refreshing. He was new. He was coming from a different angle. Herschel is clearly a puppet of Trump. Everybody knows Herschel only claim to fame is that Trump put him there. Trump was coming from an angle of you ain't seen this yet. I'm presenting something that's totally new that might actually benefit you. And people were willing to give it a try because they were tired of traditional politics. So I understand voting for Trump. I do not understand voting for Herschel. They were tired of traditional politics. So I understand voting for Trump. I do not understand voting for Herschel. Other than the fact that Herschel, other than the fact that
Trying to ban Muslims and people south of the border and all that stuff like that. He played on people that had bad intentions of other folks' fear.
Yeah.
That's how he became president. He didn't win out of love. He won out of fear.
When I mean, I hate to say it this way, but when has being a racist been a disqualifier for being president? I mean, shit, most of the presidents we've had throughout history have been racist. Some of them even own people, for God's sake. So, I mean, some of our best presidents, the ones that are carved in the mountain over there in Rapid City, South Dakota, were racist as hell. So you can be a great president and still be racist. I hate to say, but you can be.
But you don't encompass everybody. You asked a question earlier about why large cities or urban cities have fare better with like Democrats,
right?
Because like I said once you come together and then you have a mayor that's concerned about all of his city, not just some of his city.
Yep.
And that shows
and I totally agree with that. And I've said that before in the program several times that it is easier to be a Republican politician than a Democratic politician. for the simple fact that as a Republican politician, you only have to cater to straight white people. Whereas or Christian people, straight white Christian people. Whereas as a Democratic politician, you got to cater to all the religions. You got to cater to Muslims, blacks, gays, Asians, all of these different groups. You got to try to somehow please. Whereas the Republican politicians, for the most part, it's all straight white Christian people. So it's a lot easier for the Republican Party now, and also they got the majority right now in this country. Obviously, white people still represent the majority of the citizens, so it's a much easier job than trying to cater to. Because, like cancel culture, for instance, that's hurting us. That's what's making the Squad and AOC fight against people like Bernie Sanders and stuff like that. They're not agreeing with each other. Whereas on the right, they don't have to deal with all of that. We have the right, we have the left, and then we got folks who we would consider further left, and they're clashing with each other. They want Biden to, like, for instance, Biden tried to forgive 10,000 in student loans, 20,000 for Pell Grants. How many folks on the far left was like, that ain't enough? You didn't do a good enough job. He got to deal with shit like that. Whereas on the right, we ain't gonna forgive shit to begin with, so it ain't no argument.
But it'd have been a start. It'd have been a start.
Yeah. And I agree with that. That's why I'm no fan of anybody who is arguing that he didn't forgive enough. Like you said, it's a start.
But the Democrats don't cater to anyone. Our message is we have room for everybody. We don't cater.
Yeah.
We have room. That's the difference.
You got room for MAGA?
If they want
You
to
got
come
room
on
for
board,
MAGA?
if they want to come on board,
okay.
we're not turning down anybody that want to be a part of. But when you like you just said, the catering to the European male Christian, that's when you're what you use that word when you're catering to. You cater to that to them. I say it all the time. George Jetson technology, Fred Flintstone ideology.
So let me ask you this. Trump is supposed to make a big announcement tomorrow night. This time tomorrow night, we should already know. You think he's going to
run? Two things. That's what I want to ask you. How many people do you need, or what do you need to start another party? Because I believe Trump, if he's going to announce like the party of Trump. If he do, it won't be a Republican party.
Wow, you need money. It ain't how many people you need, it's how much money you got.
I think he got enough, but he got enough backing to at least mess up something. He'll mess the Republican Party up for years with that jumping in and out, putting his sons, his daughter, nephew, Melania.
Well, I could certainly see Trump doing damage to the Republican Party by making, causing so much division within the party. But I disagree that he has enough money to do it on his own. It costs a lot of money to run a political campaign at the presidential level. And he's dealing with a lot of legal issues. He's already got to be hemorrhaging money to lawyers right and left because he's getting sued all over the damn place. So I don't know if he has enough money to run a political campaign at the president. He might be to run for mayor on his own money, but running for president, where you got to, pay for TV ads in not only all 50 states, but there are multiple different television jurisdictions in each state. So, I mean, there's so many ads you got to pay for as a presidential contender. I don't know. I mean, he needs to be able to raise money under a Republican label. Now, if he ran as an independent, ran as the Maga party or some other party creation, he would raise a lot of money, but I don't know if it'll be enough.
Well, you seen what he doing to Herschel Walker. He put this thing out like he raising donations for Herschel, but only 10% of that is actually going to Herschel Walker, and the rest of 90% is going to him. He doing that to everybody, so he gonna get enough money. If you don't read the fine print, when you get the fine print on the bottom, it says you've been sold.
That's crazy. Because right now he hasn't officially announced. So appreciate that TikTok tap to go. Got me looking good. Thank you. Right now, he has not officially announced he's running president. So he can keep the campaign funds he's raising. The idea that he would be sending folks solicitations for campaign funds, having folks thinking they're donating to Herschel Walker, and he's keeping 90% of it just seems wrong. But I have heard that he's doing that. I have heard that as well. That is it. How that is able to skirt campaign law, what is it, campaign finance laws or what? To me, that should not even be legal that you can do that.
But he set it up through his own
Yeah.
means and stuff. So he's in charge of it. And if you want to donate, like he's trying to help Herschel, and it goes through his hand, he's gonna get like red on Shawshank. He gonna get his 90%.
Oh, you went back to the Morgan Freeman reference. That is my favorite movie of all time, Shawshank Redemption. 10%, yeah, or 10% to the big guy, which is a different argument. But okay, all right. Listen, Herbert, I gotta
Let
move it
me
on,
answer your
man.
last question. Let me answer your last
Sure,
question. Why do
sure.
you say women, married women, vote more right?
Yes.
Is because a lot of times they go to the poll with their husband. They do it as a couple thing. They're gonna go out and eat because it takes a while in that line. They're gonna go out and eat, or they're gonna go vote. They might go do a little shopping. They do it as a team. So who he's voting for, she vote for,
So
and that's
even
why
in an
you
age
get.
of women's equality, they're still going under the wing of their husbands.
It's just a thing of unity. It's not deliberate. It's just a team. Like a lot of couples. You ever see they wear the same outfits?
To
You
the
know,
polling to
no, I'm
vote.
talking about you might see. No, I'm talking about like you see couples out and they be dressed alike.
Yeah, I've seen, but not at the
Yeah.
polling place. I never seen them like that.
No. Same mindset,
Oh,
mindset,
yeah. I
like
might see
minded.
that at a Steve Harvey comedy show, but I ain't never seen it at a polling place.
No
Okay. So
mindset. So.
so what about yourself? Could you date, marry, or fall in love with a woman that had 180-degree politics of yours? If she's a hardcore Trump supporter going to the rallies every week, when they're in town, would you have any problem dating someone that had the total opposite of your politics?
Only she was rich, 90 some years old, and I had the hearse waiting outside.
Almost about to die. Okay. All
And if
right,
she ain't
Herbert.
ready, I'm a show help her on our way to heaven.
Oh my God.
You be
Okay,
good, my brother. Love that blue shirt. Love that blue shirt. Be good. Be good.
absolutely. And don't out on the golf course. All right, folks. Unfortunately, I do have to end the live. I got to get up early, just like the next man does. So appreciate the fact that you guys have been rolling with me. I didn't really solicit a whole lot of likes. 20,000 ain't bad. I would have preferred 30,000. 25,000 ain't bad, but I wasn't coming at you guys too hard. Had a lot of good callers on, as always. It's always a pleasure from that aspect. Women voting, voting to the right when they get married. As many of you go, oh shit, corn star, that is beautiful. You said some shit I've never seen before. That is, yeah, appreciate your generosity. Absolute fan, friend of the program. Definitely like that. But yeah, I guess when it really boils down to it, women still, the husband still has a lot to say so in what females do. So it is what it is. But I am going to terminate the program because I do got to get up early, and I appreciate you guys rolling with your boy. So until tomorrow, and I will be doing a lunchtime live, 11:30 a.m. for you guys. I had about 1,000 people in there today. It got pretty good. About 1,000 folks was in there. So any of you guys who see me on the lunchtime live, appreciate you being there as well. I do that one out of the car. But as always, every program, solemn promise, don't ban, block, or censor your comments. I always give folks time in the box to state your point. The fact that you may disagree with the host never means a damn thing. Had a lot more liberals on the program tonight. Liberals are always welcome, but I always say MAGA is preferred guest because I do prefer to have civilized dialogue with the other side. Having said that, you guys have a good night. Catch you tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, and that is it. Again, 5, 4, 3. That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.